It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech. We have assembled a very special panel for our year-end last episode of 2019. Mikah Sargent's here, Mary Jo Foley, Stacey Higginbotham, and we're going to go and look back at this amazing, mind-boggling decade. The 20-teens next on TWiT.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 750, recorded December 5th for December 22nd, 2019. Another decade is in the can. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Stamps.com. Don't spend a minute of your holiday season at the post office this year. Buy and print real U.S. postage the instant you need it right from your desk. For our special offer, go to Stamps.com, click Get Started, and enter TWiT. And by DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform that scales as you grow. Get started today for free with a free $50 credit at do.co/twit. And by Masterclass. Online classes taught by the world's greatest minds. For a limited time, when you buy one annual Masterclass all-access pass for yourself, you'll get another one to gift for free. Go to masterclass.com/twit to get started with this limited time offer. And by Mack Weldon. Mack Weldon is a premium men's essentials brand that believes in smart design and premium fabrics. For 20% off your first order, go to mackweldon.com and enter the promo code TWiT. It's time for TWiT, the special holiday edition. Happy holidays, everybody. I'm Leo Laporte, and we have a wonderful panel, our year-end show. Mikah Sargent, who is one of our newest employees, is here. A last-minute replacement.
I am a last-minute replacement.
Our good friend Lori Gill couldn't make it down from Sacramento, unfortunately, so we had to. Micah
had to settle for
in.
me, unfortunately.
It was going to be me and a bunch of women.
Mm-hmm.
So
this feels more realistic.
This is
It does.
That's Stacey Higginbotham. Getting the first zing in. Hello, Stacey. She is, of course, our Twig host, but also at Stacey on IoT and her own IoT podcast. And Mary Jo Foley has joined us all the way from New York, all about Microsoft.com. So Mary Jo came the farthest. Stacey came down from Seattle.
I just walked into the room.
Down the hall. And because you're all here, we thought we'd prime the pump. I've hired a very special bartender to bring us some holiday beverages. Ooh. Anthony Nielsen, who is our lead editor.
I would love to do the honors of passing that out.
He's also a great bartender. Is that,
Mike,
Anthony, that looks to me like that could be a Patch Tuesday.
It totally
Is. That looks like the best Patch Tuesday ever made.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
That's got to be for Mary Jo, right?
This is, wait, did you order? No, you have something else.
Oh, you were there when the Patch Tuesday was first created.
You kind of made it up.
I made it up,
Yeah.
and then I can't make drinks, and so Paul's wife,
Stephanie did a great job.
made the Patch Tuesday cocktail into an actual thing.
What is this? Is this cognac?
So are you ready? Is that this one? Yes. Okay, so the smoked Boulevardier is...
a Boulevardier.
Boulevardier.
So why is it in here? Is that what you
There's
do?
smoke in there.
It's smoked.
Oh, is there really?
Oh, there's smoke.
That's Stony Point whiskey, Campari, Carpano Antica Sweet Vermouth, served in a hickory smoked decanter.
Oh, my
That's
God.
what you're working with.
That's Anthony
Does
Nielsen
smoke come out when you open
in a
it?
nutshell, yeah.
Wait, can we all
Look,
Wow.
it's smoking.
Oh, it is.
I don't know if you can see it in the TV, but it is smoking,
it
absolutely.
smells. Here, waft that.
Oh, my God.
Yum.
Yum.
Oh, I smell
It's a Boulevardier. And then what did Stacey get?
Stacey has, are you the smoked rosemary gin and tonic?
I am.
All right,
because we
smoked
know she
rosemary
likes her
and tonic.
gin.
That's Griffo Scott Stream Gin
Oh, yeah, we're using a local gin from just down the road a piece.
with lime, Bitter Cube Boulevard bitters,
Ooh,
and
yes.
it's served in a rosemary smoked glass.
Wow. It's delicious.
And what is Mary Jo drinking? I think she's drinking a local brew.
Mary Jo is drinking a Southern 75. That is a Crooked Goat Brewing Ibex IPA.
Crooked Goat.
With
Crooked Goat.
Crooked Goat.
Is that a Sonoma County? Oh, that's right. Yeah, all right.
With Griffo Stony Point whiskey, lemon, and lemon oil
so there's some
infused
whiskey in there.
Demerara syrup.
What's in my Boulevardier?
I thought I'd already said that one. That was the. I do believe that
I
was
want to
the
know
first
before I
one
drink
said.
it.
You've got Stony Point whiskey,
Yes.
Campari, Carpano Antica sweet vermouth
Oh, you did say that.
with the hickory smoked decanter, and last but not least is. And by the way, it has a TWiT logo on the top of it.
Does it really?
OMG.
Where is the camera to show that?
Yeah, how do you do that?
Here,
You
give
got
it to
a
me. I
walking
have a
camera?
special camera. Okay, here you go. Oh, my goodness. I also have a
An
special
original
mouse.
recipe courtesy of Stephanie Thurrott, inspired by Mikah Sargent.
That
This
is
is
the most beautiful thing
amazing.
ever.
It is.
The Griffo Stony Point whiskey, lemon, barrel-aged honey syrup, egg white, and TWiT stenciled bitters. Those are bitters.
Wow.
I am so impressed.
That's
I'm bitter
impressive.
too, but that's after years of
That's amazing.
Anthony,
tech.
let's give a round of
Anthony
applause
Nielsen,
for
ladies and
Anthony.
gentlemen. And I give you good cheer, happy holidays, and here's to a peaceful and happy 2020
Are we
to
clinking?
all.
Carefully.
Clink carefully.
Very careful clink.
I already spilled on
Virtually.
my surface.
Yeah, virtual clinks.
Virtual desktop.
Cheers, yes.
So, welcome everybody to what is always a drunken bacchanal. No, what is always a fun show to do, which is our year-end episode. Now, next week, we're going to do, of course, the best of. But what we like to do, the Christmas just around the corner. We're in the middle of Hanukkah. We like to do at the end of the year is, and you're going to get a little coffee too. Just it's a little speedball thing going on.
Yeah.
What are you drinking? An almond latte?
Oh, this is an almond milk latte.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
just
by the
coffee.
fabulous Sarah Standard.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
Fancy.
An applause from me
We
to
have a
you.
staff
Thank
of
you.
26 people whose entire mission is to serve us beverages.
Drinks.
That's
the whole
what it
show.
feels
Nice.
like, and I feel no.
What was I saying?
I think you were talking about whiskey. No, you were talking about the show favorites, good
Next
things
week
that
is going to
happened.
be best.
Yes. How
Oh
we're
yeah,
doing
next
the
week's
best
the
of.
best of. But
Thank
this
you.
week we
That.
thought what I realized independently and apparently incorrectly is that this is the end of a decade.
Mm-hmm.
The teens, the 20 teens.
Yep.
Stacey, of course, immediately pointed out, as one does,
Mm-hmm.
that the decade's actually 2011 to 2020.
I'm that guy.
We could do that again next
That's
year.
not the teens.
But this is the teens.
Yep.
So that's what we're going to say, right? Not the decade. I'll look back at the teens. And actually really appropriate because Mary Jo Foley has been covering Microsoft all of that time. And there was a lot of Microsoft
There was.
in the 2010s. Stacey started covering ball bearings? I can't remember. Something,
Yes, definitely ball bearings.
something industrial.
Steel, no, chips and wireless policy and spectrum and
Yeah.
telcos
Oh,
So-
chips.
and
I thought you
cloud.
said ships, and I thought, now that's
Ships.
interesting.
There's a lot of that in the teens
Yep.
as
Yes.
well. And of course, IoT comes on strong toward the end of the decade. So there's
2012,
Yeah.
first IoT device.
Yeah. In fact, yeah, well, we'll get to
Yeah.
2012. And then Mikah
Here's the
wasn't
joke.
even born.
He was in his teens.
He
is
was
what-
in his
yeah.
teens. We thought, honestly, I'm glad you're here. We needed a millennial.
Yeah.
Because your perspective
Oh,
on
aren't
this.
you?
I think technically I'm a zennial. Is that what we are?
Gen Z.
Zennial.
Yeah.
Or Gen X,
like
right?
half
Anybody-
Gen X, half millennial.
Anybody Mark Zuckerberg's age or younger is a millennial. 36
how
and
old.
down.
I'm 41.
Yes, so I think you.
But I played the Oregon Trail.
Okay, well that does.
I
but
mean,
what,
that means
I
you're
died
Gen
of
X.
dysentery many
Several
Gen
times.
times.
X.
You earned it.
but was it on an Apple II?
It was actually on like an Atari thing.
An Atari?
No, it was an old. Sorry, it was an
Commodore?
old DOS machine.
A what?
Like a DOS, like some
Like a
sort of
DOS machine.
I don't.
All right.
I wasn't paying attention. I was playing a video game.
Yeah. Did everybody die of dysentery?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was lots of that.
Many times.
So are these the terrible teens? Are they the terrific teens?
I'm going to leave that to us, to you at the end of the show. We can
Yes.
decide terrible or terrific. What was this
Turmoil. Teens
this
of
turmoil?
Definitely
and
techie teens.
Mary Jo and I both observed that this was a very busy decade, especially the first half.
It was.
Lots of stuff changed in the
Yeah.
first half of the decade. We can start in 2010, and I remember 2010 vividly because, well, first of all, we were still in the cottage.
Aw.
We didn't have the fantastic production values we have today. And I remember in January 2010, Steve Jobs introduced the iPad. And we decided we wanted to cover that live on lawn chairs in front of Moscone Center.
Because you didn't have an invite?
I wonder if I have.
I hope.
No, I did. In fact, that was the last time I had it.
Oh, okay.
Because that is the infamous moment when I'm sitting. Now, I tell it my way. It's different
Okay.
from how Steve told it. I tell it my way. I'm sitting in the iPad announcement. This is perhaps, I think.
So you're not on a lawn chair?
I'm actually inside.
Okay.
This is the last time I got a badge. The lawn chairs came later.
Gotcha.
I'm sitting inside, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking, this is the most important hardware announcement of the decade. Yeah. Actually, even 10 years later, you might say it was one of them. It wasn't the most, but one of them.
Okay.
And we're covering it kind of, because they didn't stream it at the time, by blogging it, right? Typing it in. So dopey. And I'm looking behind me, and there's Bloomberg and TV and all the cameras behind me going, it was so long ago they actually had to turn the crank. And I'm looking, I'm thinking, well, they're going to broadcast this. So I took my laptop, I launched Skype, I called the studio, and I turned it around.
Oh, wow.
And I held it up.
Wow, this was before vlogging? Or
you weren't. As it turns out, I learned later you weren't really allowed to do that. Everybody else is recording it, but I guess live streaming, Steve didn't want that for some reason. Steve gives me this stink eye. I know he saw me, and actually we looked later in the video of the event, and there's you can see Leo loud and clear holding up his iPad. They didn't kick me out. They didn't do anything. It wasn't an iPad. It was a laptop. They didn't have one yet. They didn't kick me out. They didn't do anything. Had I, I don't know. And so I went out. Then we sat in front of the lawn chairs. Colleen, our engineer at the time, had made a live broadcasting rig out of plexiglass and glue, and we did the show from there. So I think that was a pretty important way to begin the decade. It really was. I think it was the very first. It was in January. It was the Macworld Expo. So it was a very big.
Wow. Yep, that was the first big tech event of the decade.
Yeah.
Launch of the iPad.
Yeah. Looking back now, 10 years later, is the iPad a success? I think so.
A lot of people debate that. I mean, it's not like it was a throwaway gadget, but it didn't change the way we compute.
It wasn't as big as we probably thought it was going to be.
Because right now, we're just sort of getting to the point where some people, well, I should say that, I should be careful, because there are people out there who will live and die by the fact that they use their iPad for everything or their tablet for everything. But there are, for the most part, we're just now getting to a place where my grandma, for example, I started her out with an iPad mini that was mine that I gave to her, and she used that. And then I was happy to get to upgrade her to a more recent iPad Pro with the keyboard that comes with it and the Apple Pencil. And she uses that as her computer. That's the computer. That's all she needs. And I think that...
You're jingling.
Yes, thank you. I think that for the most part, we are just sort of in that space in terms of tablets. But Microsoft is doing pretty well with the go-between or the all-in-one kind of device that's portable. So in terms of what the iPad hoped to do in providing a more mobile computing platform, I think that it certainly didn't start out that way. It was definitely consumption versus content creation. But we really have seen overall, I feel, the whole tech sector kind of digging into that idea and creating products that do that.
I think even Microsoft would agree that the iPad was a big deal. Remember when they ported Office to the iPad?
Yeah.
That was huge.
Here's Steve. He was already very ill, and I think I do remember when we walked in there kind of gasping at how thin he looked.
They're slow.
He's talking about netbooks. What's wrong with...
Oh, that's right. We called them netbooks, phablets. There were lots of things.
They're just cheaper. They're just cheap.
He says they're not... Watch this. This is a good effect.
Think that they're a third category.
Netbooks falling apart.
I think that feature's still available in Power or
it's a Keynote thing.
Yeah,
a lot of the original features. Can you turn Steve up a little bit? A lot of the original features of Keynote were made for Steve's.
The iPad.
That one too.
Oh yeah, that one's special.
You remember everyone making fun of the iPad name when it first came out?
Oh yeah.
We thought it was a feminine hygiene product. It
Yes.
didn't seem like a good
We're
name.
way more woke now.
Yeah.
We would never do that today.
Ever have one?
Look at the size of the
Right here.
bezels on this thing.
Oh my God.
Goodness. It's all
That's what it
bezels.
looks like.
Yeah.
Very thin.
And look at that reflection too.
It's just like this.
We own this. It was a game-changing product at the time, but now I've got a mini that I use for like CES to shoot stuff on.
But I bet your daughter still uses an iPad.
No, she doesn't. She uses
doesn't?
her phone and the Echo.
Oh, the phone.
Oh, yeah.
The phone
But-
might have somewhat replaced this, huh?
We use it as a TV, basically. No one watches. We only have one TV now in the house, and then we have a roving iPad for whomever wants
see?
to.
So it is still.
But and we'll totally replace it. But it is not. It's not a device we use every day.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the fact that you can still use it. You haven't needed to replace it. I think that that's something.
No, this isn't the 2010 one.
Oh! I thought you were saying.
Oh God, no one still has that one.
That was the only Apple product I ever bought.
The
Wow.
original
The original
iPad?
iPad.
So what we should say is the last Apple product you ever bought.
Yes.
You didn't have an iPad or an iPod? That was
Yeah.
it.
I don't know if you know my problem with Apple, but
Did you have a Zune?
What's your?
Yes.
Tell us what's your big problem with Apple?
I just don't like Apple. I don't like the Mac community. Sorry, iGuy.
I love it. Mary Jo calls me the eye guy.
I do. No,
You don't
I
like the Mac community.
I don't.
That's hardcore.
It is. It is. No, I just feel like Apple gets away with too much,
Okay.
and I don't want to be part of that dismissive.
She can't be part of that.
Okay.
That's all.
No, that's fair.
Apple also in 2010 got rid of Flash. You can thank Steve Jobs for his very famous letter they put on the front page
Yep.
of Apple.com.
I remember having to explain this to folks.
Saying how
I still have to
bad-
explain this
This is
to folks.
true.
I
This
was
is
on the
true.
plane with a woman the other day, and she was like, "Why is this asking about Flash? How do I watch the movie on my computer?" And I'm like, "I am not."
Isn't it sad? Steve Jobs is dead, but Flash isn't.
Yep.
That's kind of a sad statement. He had all the right reasons. A lot of people thought that he didn't like Flash because he didn't like Adobe, that it was kind of a personal vendetta against Adobe. And there's perhaps some
Maybe.
reasonable things to think that, but nevertheless.
I mean, and eventually, like we said, Adobe gets rid of it pretty much as well. And it
Well,
was,
sort of. Like
Sort of like Microsoft. Sort of.
Sort of, as you say, you keep running into it. I keep having to install it. I
Once
don't want
in a blue
to.
moon, I come across it, and now at this point, I just whatever that thing is, I'm not just going to interact with it.
I don't care.
Yeah, I guess I
dead
don't
to
care.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't care.
Doesn't matter. But I remember at the time, it was sort of a bragging rights thing for folks who had devices that could load Flash. And so where you had these iPhones or iPods or whatever trying to, access this website that had Flash, and I can do it. Look at me, I can get on there. It's like, well, I don't know what to say.
So
That's fine.
I don't want to make it all Apple. So we're going to give you some stuff, Mary Jo.
Thank you.
The Microsoft Kin was born.
Oh, do you have to start with that? Wow.
Tell me
Low
about the
blow,
Kin.
man.
How many weeks?
What was the
6
Kin?
weeks.
What's a kin?
The Kin. So the Kin was this little tiny computing.
Doll.
There was a phone, and I think there were two models. Now the joke is when anything gets killed quickly, we say it got Kinned.
It got kinned.
Right.
Oh, it's so cute.
It was a
Microsoft
really
came
cute
out with
phone.
it. Super cute, but
Okay.
they didn't kind of clear the path with carriers, and so nobody wanted to pick it up.
I think you could say the carriers killed it.
Well, Verizon
actually.
totally.
Yeah.
Right.
Microsoft had a flat rate internet pricing
Right.
on it, which is pretty cool.
It looked cute, but it was doomed.
Actually, this is the Kin 2. The Kin 1 was similar, though. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
It came out of a lot of the technology came out of their deal with Danger. I think they acquired Danger.
Yes.
Oh,
right?
Andy Rubin's.
Right.
It was like it looks
and
like the sidekick.
they used that technology to make the Kin. And so they launched it with great fanfare, and 6 weeks later,
Boom. It was exclusive to Verizon,
See,
made by Sharp.
that's another thing that we're getting rid of in
Exclusives.
these modern years. Although the new Razer
yeah.
phone is exclusive.
Well, and wasn't this back when you still you would get a phone for free or a heavily subsidized
Oh
phone?
my God!
Yes.
Yeah.
These were in the days
the days of
you
subsidization.
probably don't remember this,
I
but
remember this
some people, you were only
fondly.
12, but
I
some
was in
people
the womb.
remember it, that you used to pay typically $200 for a phone, no
Yeah.
matter what it cost.
Right.
And then you would spread it out,
Yeah.
the rest of it over, you'd have to sign a 2-year deal with the, and it's about midway through this decade that AT&T said, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
It's because the
Stop
phones got
subsidizing.
too expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I love the little keyboard, though. I was one of those people who one of my first smartphones had a real keyboard, and I loved it.
I had a Danger hip top. In
You
fact,
do?
the first Google phone, the Android phone, had a keyboard like
Yeah.
that.
I always
they had
coveted-
slid out.
I always coveted the Sidekick, the T-Mobile
Yes.
Sidekick.
Yeah, the Sidekick.
Same thing. Yeah.
All the cool kids had
Somewhere I
Sidekicks.
got one of those. So the funny thing is subsidies ended, but as the prices of phones went up, but they continued locking the phones
Right.
because the whole point of the locking was, well, we subsidized it, it's our phone, and that. But even if you buy it outright, they still lock it. And although the FCC has started to weigh in on that, and that deal where we're going to add a little to your bill every month to pay for the phone, they never eliminated that charge. So it worked out great for the phone company. What did not work out great for Apple, 2010 was the year of the antenna gate.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
yeah. Wow.
Oh, I forgot about that.
The iPhone. Yes, that's
You
what
get
I
a
hope
free
you'll be saying
bumper.
throughout
Well, I was
the
about to say
show.
we're just that's what's
It's
going
going to
to
be
happen.
a lot of that. This is the iPhone 4. If you hold it funny,
You're holding it wrong.
Yep.
the battery, the signal strength meter slowly goes down to 0 if you hold it just right. And we demonstrated it on the show. I probably could find it.
And I think this too is the introduction of Apple proudly displaying their facilities where they do testing. So this was, let's show you these weird shaped rooms with the foam pieces that shape the signal so that we can show you how detailed we are about this. And we tested this and we did this. And even though we tested it, well, there might be something wrong here. So you can get a free bumper. And I think that now, looking at what Apple does, that sort of has become a part of every presentation that they do, where you get to see the acoustic foam of the studios that they're using for shaping the way that their HomePod works, or what have you.
When Antenna Gate first happened, Steve Jobs didn't buy it. Remember, you're holding it wrong.
Right. Yeah.
He said, no, I'm not going to. He was in Hawaii. He was staying at a Kona Village, which is a beautiful resort in Kona on the Big Island, and was really mad that he was forced to cut his vacation short and fly back to Cupertino. He took his son, Reed, who at the time I think was probably pretty young, 9 or 10. He said, I want you to see how it works in business. Wow. And so Reed sat in on these meetings.
Oh, wow.
I'd love Reed to tell that story at some point. Sat in on all those meetings with Steve going, I'm not. Finally, Apple came up with a plastic bumper to put around it, and they gave to everybody so that you would not attenuate.
And this set kind of a standard because Apple has made a couple other design mistakes, and their pattern is let's not own up to it for a
Right.
while. Oh, okay, we
Okay.
can't ignore it.
Right.
Keyboard,
Fine.
perhaps?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my
Let's
God.
talk about the
They haven't
butterfly.
really owned up to the keyboard
They just
yet.
took it out
Still.
finally.
Yeah, but did they take it out? They only took it out one, the new one, and all the
I
old
know.
ones they're still selling.
My
it.
fingers are
Right
breaking
here.
right now typing on this.
You got it right now. You
I've
got
got-
it. Yeah.
You've got
Well, you need
16?
Elvis.
No, I've got
Or you've got the
I've got the old.
Mary Jo is using the new Surface
Surface.
Book 3,
Surface laptop.
3,
Yep.
and you like it a lot.
Yep.
And
That's
it's
a really good keyboard.
Yeah,
That's a great keyboard. It's
saying.
lappable.
Micah has
Lappable.
one.
I have one.
Blue suede.
Oh my gosh, Elvis, he's excellent. I remember
beautiful.
taking it out of the box and so pretty.
Here's a blast from the past. In 2010, Facebook hit. How many users do you think Facebook had in 2010? Now it's now what? 2 billion?
It's more than the Earth's population somehow,
Right.
I think.
There's more. Yeah, there's
They-
more dead
it
people
was a-
than alive people
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
It was a big deal when Facebook had 500 million users, 500 million users in 2010.
And they had, it's like it was 2004 when they launched, and like 7 when they like allowed people who were not in
Not
college
students, yeah.
Oh, you're
to
right.
do it.
Yep.
Micah, I feel like you would know this because you were about that age.
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. I think that I was.
Did you have Facebook in college?
No. Well, I did, but you didn't have to be in college to have Facebook by the time I was in college to have Facebook. I was in high school when you had to be in college to have Facebook.
Actually, speaking of Facebook, the man of the year in 2010, Time Magazine cover boy, Mark Zuckerberg.
Really?
Wow.
Boy, that would not happen
Nope.
again.
Nope.
No, not at
That
all.
would not happen again. It was also, I was surprised when I saw this in my research. That was the year Google quit China, was 2010. It was that long ago. And of course, last year there were rumors Google was making a custom search engine for the
That was
Chinese
this year.
government. Was it this year?
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, was it?
I was
Yeah.
like, when are we airing
They
this?
backed down on it. No, it was earlier this year, yeah.
Yeah.
Big deal, Windows 7 came out in 2010. Now,
Which we
the
love,
last-
right?
The last
love.
great Windows.
Yes.
Well, maybe not.
Come
It's
on.
still running on lots of things
have it
now
at home.
infected by.
I have it at home. I use it every show when I'm at home.
Really? Is that what you're using?
Yeah.
So it's in about couple of weeks. It's
know.
not going to. It's
That
going to be
day
out of
is
support.
over
No more tech
quickly.
support. No more
January
patches.
14th, 2020.
It's all over.
You've got a
for
countdown
End
timer
of an
going.
era.
Microsoft gives you 10 years, right?
Right. 10 years of support, free support. After that, if you want support, you have to pay.
Oh.
Another very, very big thing that happened that probably none of you remember in 2010 was a exploit called Firesheep. Now, you don't know this one, but Steve Gibson and I talked about this an awful lot because it allowed somebody sitting in a open Wi-Fi access point with you, a coffee shop, to hijack your Facebook and just start posting stuff on your Facebook because Firesheep, because you didn't have an HTTPS connection with Facebook at the time. It was unencrypted. So when you first opened Facebook on your laptop, you would send the cookie that said, I'm Mary Jo Foley, out through the unencrypted channel. The hacker would be able to grab it, put it on his laptop, and then be Mary Jo Foley or be Stacey. And so, but the reason it's important, besides the fact that it was kind of a shocking thing, is now, thanks to that, HTTPS, secure
yes.
HTTP is everywhere.
Yes, and there's even now at this point, we're starting to shame for not having
That's
HTTPS
right.
support.
Yep.
That's right. So you can, that started in 2010. You can thank
Thanks to the
Firesheep
sheep
for that.
that was on fire.
The other very big story was this was when WikiLeaks really came to the foreground because they released those U.S. diplomatic cables. They also released the Bradley Manning material. Now Chelsea Manning, at the time, she was an Army specialist who released video of drone footage killing innocent civilians and journalists. And that was a real shocker. And this, at this time, WikiLeaks was really considered a do-gooder.
Yes.
Not a front for the Russians?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were at this time.
Yeah.
The material was obtained by WikiLeaks, 220 cables, some redacted. At the time, WikiLeaks cared a little bit more to protect diplomatic sources. It put out the first installment on late November 2010. Lots of embarrassment. The White House condemned it in the strongest terms. It was the beginning of a decade of revelation about what the U.S. government is up to.
I think that, and I'm wondering too if you folks think it was also the beginning of a little bit more cultural awareness of sort of the role that technology and especially someone who is working with classified documents in this way, how that all works. Like instead of just traditional espionage where we think of James Bond, now we're talking about cyber espionage, and I feel like it entered into the public sector a little bit more, and we became more aware of it because of this. And now, even more so today, we have to think about that whenever we think about what the CIA is doing to protect us, the FBI, et cetera.
The other thing that's different,
cyber.
Edward Snowden, we're going to get to him, was very careful about how he released the information. WikiLeaks eventually just started dumping it. In this case, the Times, which was given more than 250,000 cables, withheld a lot, after consulting with the State Department, withheld a lot of the information from the articles and from the documents to protect diplomats, people who would be at risk, intelligence agents, and so forth. The White House said that the WikiLeaks would make several 100,000 cables available Sunday night, but 220 were first posted in that first tranche of
And
cables.
I think that influenced how Snowden came forward, working through Greenwald. I would argue, though,
I
that
think you're right.
Yeah.
He probably looked at that and said, I got to do
that
better
way.
than that.
well, and there are ways to that helps protect him too from
Right.
But I would say that I think it was actually Snowden's revelations that really started people thinking
Yes.
about it, and because I think the NSA was tapping into phone lines and that sort of thing. Even though prior to that we had the AT&T revelations, which I don't know if those were in 2010.
The whistleblower,
yeah, I think that was earlier.
Yeah, I think it was too.
So
we kind of, this was the story of the whole decade is a complete reversal of how people felt about government, and about technology, and about government spying. That really was one of the
that's a
threads.
big macro thread.
Yeah, I saw through all of it. A couple of big launches, 3 big launches. Instagram launched in 2010 in October.
Remember when it was not Instagram by Facebook?
It was Peekaboo.
Is that what it was called in the
It
beginning?
was first called, I believe it was called Peekaboo, yeah.
Wow.
And then that was when it was first launched, and then they changed it to Instagram not too long after that. Google released the C48, its first Chromebook. This was the debut of Chrome OS.
Wow.
In fact, this must be the year, because I remember getting that Chromebook, and I remember talking to Sundar Pichai at that time. So this must have been the year I first talked to the man who is now in charge of all of Alphabet about Chrome OS, and I was saying, this is stupid. Who would pay good money for just the browser? And to his credit, and this is why I think the world of Sundar Pichai, he didn't get mad. He was very, he was understanding, and he explained and he was absolutely right.
They even came around to Windows journalists with Chromebooks, and they said, hey, you should try this. I remember them showing it to me, and I'm like, wait, what?
Why would you want that? And remember the Pawn Stars ads? Yeah. They brought in the Pawn Stars, Microsoft did, to say, well, I'm not going to give you any money for it because you can't do anything with it.
I remember asking, can you use apps offline? And they were like, why would anyone do that? And I'm like, I can think of a lot of reasons.
There are many reasons why
I'm
you
stuck
wouldn't
on an
use
airplane.
I
But
know.
now, I mean, when I'm offline, my computer I have Pages, I think.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also, let me go to, because this was the last year that we were in the cottage. It was broadcasting out of the cottage. I think a lot of you probably don't remember the cottage. Let me see if I can find.
2010 was the last year?
Yeah, we were still
Wow.
in the cottage at that time. And let me show you why we moved.
2011 was the last year.
We moved in 2011? Is that right? Oh,
Yep.
okay. Well, we'll get to that then. I'll save it.
One more year.
For some reason, I thought we moved in 2010. We moved in 2011. You're right. Okay.
It's because time flies when you're having fun.
It was the last full year we were in the cottage. And we moved into the Brick House studio in July of 2011. Okay. I will show you, though, because I think everybody should see why we moved. I will show you what a typical TWiT episode looked like in 2010. And it wasn't. It's time for TWiT episode pretty. I am in the cottage with Docta, who is a rather large fella. Joshua Topolsky's on the Skypeosaurus behind me, and so is Ryan Block, who was at the time, I think he had just started Gadget, his new Gadget blog after leaving Engadget, and that's Loic Lemur, the French entrepreneur who apparently brought wine.
Did that just roll? You just rolled that up to the desk?
Yeah,
That desk in front?
yeah, that little table.
That's amazing.
And that's the same I'm on the same desk, but we had to fit people in. We had to roll up a little table.
Who's that in the little chair back there?
There's somebody in a little chair.
Oh, maybe that's just the window. Never mind.
They're often, well, believe it or not, there was enough room in there that there could be people
on the side there?
On the side.
Oh, so maybe there was a person.
Sitting. There could have been somebody sitting in the chair there. And I was switching the whole thing. I had a little board in front of me
Look at you. Yeah, working
to
hard.
switch. Yeah, I was hardly working. I mean, working hard.
Everybody's got wine, I think.
Yeah, we.
Loic did Free, which was a innovative broadband business in France. And he's still doing it. It's Iliad now, right?
Yeah, and remember he did Seismic. Do you remember Seismic?
Yeah.
No.
That was his first American startup. Joshua now he started The Outline. Just sold that recently, I think.
Right.
So yeah, it's actually fun going through the old shows because a lot of people under the bridge. That's not right.
Like
No.
trolls? Or
I was like, is that where you're throwing the bodies? I don't know about this.
Bridge. Let's see.
People
So
go over the bridge, the water goes under the bridge.
what was the third product launch? We've talked about
I
Chrome.
said Azure, Chromebook,
Oh, you didn't say
and
Azure.
Instagram.
You didn't
right.
say
I didn't
Azure.
mention Azure.
That was just
No.
floating around in your
I've
head.
been waiting for it.
Azure launched all that time ago.
Oh.
Microsoft's Cloud Play. Do you remember the early days of Azure, Mary Jo?
I do, in fact. So here's a little nice piece of trivia. Codename of Azure, Red Dog. Why?
Why?
It was named after a strip club that was the Pink Poodle, but they were too scandalized to use Pink Poodle, so they called it Red Dog.
What?
Not making this up.
Mary
Wow.
Jo. So we should let everybody know Mary Jo used to, I don't think you do it anymore, sneak around at Microsoft.
It happens.
They know her face by now.
Things happen.
They kick her out.
She is really good at getting those stories.
Yeah, but so 10 years ago, Azure didn't exist, and they just took a bunch of the guys who worked on Windows Server, and they said, guys, we want you to build a cloud. Go do it. Figure it out.
Yeah, because Amazon's
Yeah.
had been out by 4 years
Yeah.
by that time. They were like,
Yeah.
this is happening. We got to get in on this.
Let's
Yep.
make it work.
Yep. And it was at the time we were like, oh yeah, Azure, it's kind of a big deal, I guess. Who knows? It
And now it's everything.
was everything. It
So
turned
they announced it in 2008, but they didn't really
They didn't
make it
actually
public
make it.
until February 2010.
right. Right. They were working on it. They went public about working on it. That's when Ray Ozzie was still at
Ray
Microsoft.
Ozzie. That was his thing, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the chief software architect who replaced Bill Gates as the chief software architect.
Wow.
So what has really changed is in those days, Windows 7 was the moneymaker, Microsoft Office.
Yep.
By now, 10 years later, those don't make much. I mean, they might still make
still
money,
make
but
a
they're
lot
not
of money.
they're not important as
Not a growth
Azure is really
industry.
the product.
Right.
Originally,
The
it was
growth is
called
slowing,
Windows Azure.
And the
Windows.
income is
That's right. It was Windows Azure for a
was.
long
Windows
time.
Azure
Yes.
until a month after Satya Nadella.
right.
April 2014, they
Yeah.
renamed it Microsoft
Yes.
Azure.
And this is why I like Satya.
Yeah.
Like, he gets it.
You got it.
Well, we're going to get to that because that was a topic of long conversations on TWiT for many months. But first, let's take a break before we get to 2011.
Oh, dear.
I'm going to speed it up. I got to tell you, it's really bottom heavy because actually this decade was much more. The beginning of the decade was when all this ferment happened.
Yeah.
And in the last 3 years, a lot of it's just been kind of coasting, consolidation,
coasting.
and mostly trying to figure out what's next.
Right. Yep.
So it's really, if you do this, if you go through them one by one, as I did, the years, and gather the stories, you really notice it's slow. The innovation seems to slow down about halfway through.
Right.
I did too. Blood sugar.
How many drinks are the
Exactly.
first half of the versus the second half?
Well, notice it's very detailed in the first half. Coming up, though, the worst viral video of all time.
I don't know what that is.
Now, you might
Steve
even
Ballmer
remember
has to
this.
be in it.
No, he's not.
No.
No. But first, a word from our sponsor. And you know, this is another great thing. Stamps.com has been a sponsor the entire decade.
Wow.
We've been doing Stamps ads for more than 10 years, and I'm thrilled. I love it. Thank you, Stamps.com, for 10 plus years of support. And we've been customers of Stamps.com, not only all that time, but even before then, because, frankly, we don't have time to go to the post office. When you're doing mailing, especially this time of year, last thing you want to do is get in line at the post office, find a parking space. Lots of. It's amateur week. You know, the couple of weeks before the holidays is when all the other people are mailing their stuff. If you have business, you're going to do it on Stamps.com. It's a lot easier. They've been a partner for all this time, and we really love using them. We got the USB scale, so we always know exactly what the postage is. We can print all the postage we need for any kind of U.S. mail right from our computer without getting up from the desk. In fact, you don't even have to get up to mail it because the mail carrier comes and we just go here. And you can mail anything because if you're using Stamps.com, you know, normally there's a limit about the size of packages you can put in the mailbox. They have to be under a pound. With Stamps.com, it doesn't matter. So I just love it. You also get discounts. It actually saves you money. You get discounts you cannot get at the post office. And this is not a postage meter. This is not that kind of crazy thing. It's all with your computer and your printer. With Stamps.com, 5 cents off every first-class stamp, up to 40% off priority mail. You don't pay for a meter or special ink or anything like that. It really is a no-brainer, and it's going to save you time and money. 700,000 small businesses use Stamps.com, and I think we could take credit for some of that. There's been a lot of growth in this decade. Don't spend a minute of your holiday season at the post office this year. Sign up for Stamps.com. Use our promo code TWiT. You're going to get a really nice special offer, a 4-week trial and digital scale and free postage. No long-term commitments or contracts. So go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the homepage there and enter TWiT. Stamps.com, enter the offer code TWiT. Never go to the post office again. Stamps.com. Thank you, Stamps, for believing in what we've been doing for all these years. Friday.
It's Friday.
Friday. Gotta get down on Friday.
I don't need the video.
No,
I've got
you
the
don't.
Friday singers, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody's looking forward to the weekend.
So this video, here it is. This video, so there's a story behind it. It is a terrible movie.
This
a
makes
terrible
me feel old.
video.
When did this come out?
Okay, you feel old.
2011.
I know. Come on, man.
I didn't think it was
Come
that
on,
long
man.
ago.
You can play the audio. Go ahead.
It just gets worse, Mikah.
7 a.m. waking up in the morning, gotta be fresh, gotta go downstairs, gotta have my bowl, gotta have cereal, seeing everything, the time is going, ticking on and on, everybody's rushing, gotta get down to the bus stop, gotta catch my bus. I see
There's
my
even a rap
friend
break in this.
sitting in the front seat, sitting in the back
Oh, the perils of youth, trying to figure out which seat to take.
So the story behind this is actually interesting. I feel bad for her. She pulled it off of YouTube because she was reviled for it. People thought, oh, she thinks she's the next big thing and she's going to put it on. But the truth is, this was a vanity production. Oh. Parents used to be able to go to this company. I think it was probably for her bat mitzvah. They'd go to this company and they'd say, okay, Rebecca wants to make a video. And they'd pay the company $1,000 and they'd make, not a great video. But it somehow got onto YouTube and became huge. Now, I feel like this might be, is this a remake? Maybe not.
No, that's
the one?
an original song. The company did original songs.
They did
for
original
the kids.
songs.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I didn't know this whole backstory.
Yeah. In fact, they must have brought in some sort of rap star. Here's the break.
Black, so chilling in the front side, in the backseat, I'm driving.
I'm thinking.
Okay, the sync is off. Is that in the video? Or
I'm
is that
thinking
just
this guy did 100 names a day.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why it's her name at the very beginning
it's
of
the
it.
Simpsons. Did you remember that Simpsons where Homer buys the book for Lisa? And it's like, one day a girl and her dog went to the
Named
beach.
Lisa.
Lisa Simpson. It's very funny.
So I feel bad for, she was 13 years old. It was a huge deal. It was I think probably the viral video of
and just
2011.
imagine when you're 13, how trauma. I mean,
so
much trauma.
I know. Yikes.
And I don't know if she made money or not, but
the chat room says that the person that's doing the rap is the
guy
creator of the video.
It's the guy who does it.
Oh, it is.
And produces.
That
and writes
probably makes sense because who else are they going to get?
Right.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But she's okay now. They've done like a "Where Are They Now" kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she's.
Well, we did that. Didn't we do that on Twig? The Star Wars
the
guy,
Star Wars dude,
also
who was so humiliated. He went to the high school AV room. This is before this to the AV room and videoed himself with a lightsaber, fake lightsaber, and then some mean kids from the school found it, released it. He didn't give them permission, and he was humiliated. Oh wow! But he said, "I'm glad it happened now because." Somebody said it's not the viral video of the year, but if you want to give me a nominee in the chat room for the viral video
What
of 2011.
is the viral video? Also, I heard she doesn't look forward to Fridays anymore.
So
other than that, she's okay.
It's kind of what comes around goes around. It was in 2011 or January that Larry Page, the founder of Google, became the CEO once again. Eric Schmidt, remember, was hired for quote, adult supervision.
Yes.
He stepped down. He became executive chairman, and Larry took back the role that he had created when he launched Google in 1998, 99. And now, of course, Larry and Sergey, as of last Wednesday, have decided to step down. Mm-hmm. So really, this was the decade of Larry Page's Google. I don't think... It's not as Steve Ballmer bad, but I don't think it was the best decade for Google.
Middling. But,
a middling affair.
But this is their third era, so, he's right now. Well, that would actually make him the lowest.
He's only 46.
Okay, well.
He's pretty young.
I think Google's done well this last decade.
It's not like they didn't make money. I'm not saying that, but I think that as we come to the end of the decade, they're not exactly the shining stars of Silicon Valley anymore.
I know they're not the shining stars of Silicon Valley, but who can retain that?
Right.
But they did see trends that are going to affect their business coming. They still reinvested, and that's tough to do. So And
they're starting to do enterprise stuff.
Which we know Mary Jo loves.
But not consumers.
Not consumers,
just
just all
happy.
about the enterprise.
That's all that matters. 2011, I did a little research right before the show because I was curious, because we were talking about how everybody here has a 16 by 9 inch screen, except for Mary Jo Foley. Microsoft, when they started releasing Surfaces, did 3 by 2 screens, which I think was brilliant, and maybe a little bit informed by the Apple iPad, which is also 3 by 2. But 2011 was also when computers stopped coming with 4 by 3 screens, with anything but 16 by 9. And I had a quote from the Wikipedia article about it from somebody from Samsung who said, it's so expensive now to make to make anything but 16 by 9. That's all we're going to do. Benny Budler, product manager of IT products.
Benny Budler.
Benny Budler at Samsung South Africa
The be
said,
all end all.
monitors capable of 1920 by 1200 are not being manufactured anymore. It's all about reducing manufacturing costs. The 16 by 9 ratio panels are the most cost effective to manufacture.
Capitalism wins again.
Wins again. Well, but you guys were
That's
saying
the
how
name of
much
the
you
episode.
like 16 by 9.
I love 16 by
I do too.
9. And it took a lot of getting used to move to the Surface.
Really?
You see so much more information on your screen. It's like way denser.
Yeah.
My eyes are used to looking across
In that,
instead
yeah.
of vertically.
It was in
First world
2011 that the alarms were first raised that we would have to stop using IPv4. That we are going to remember this.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
For 10 years, we are going to run out of IP addresses.
Yep.
They're gonna be
We're going to
gone.
run
It's
out.
happening. It's happening.
Europe just ran out like 2 weeks ago.
And it just happened that Ripe said we don't have any more. The problem, there were a couple of reasons that we didn't run out in 2011 when they said we're going to. They called it the iPocalypse.
Oh, brother.
iPocalypse.
Side note, IPv6 was the impetus behind one of my favorite headlines of all time, which was blah, blah, something about IPv6. Because I was so tired about...
Blah,
Yes.
blah.
I was so tired of writing about something that was clearly nobody cared about and was not actually happening.
Oh, that's great.
And it was after actually Microsoft bought a company that had, because what happened is people bought IPv6 addresses, stockpiled them, and thought there were going to be some sort of investment
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
And the other thing is people were doing fine with NAT and other.
It was especially carrier NAT, where
Yeah.
the ISP did the NAT, and so it didn't matter. It was fine.
And for some people, it was awesome because it messed up with geolocation and all of this stuff.
Right.
And this is also personal note to me, or for me. This is when I discovered that people in the UK call it a router.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's not a router there. It's a
Also
router.
in Australia, and they.
So
Wait, but Root has a different.
I know, and so
you
that's
can't
a little
root
bit
for
of
people
a
in
problem.
Australia.
No.
Here's Stacey's article.
Yeah, there
Blah
is.
blah blah. Something about IP.
and also, this is an excellent picture.
Unless you repent, ye shall surely perish.
It was the stock art era in.
That is the best headline. You win.
Yep.
This is, by the way, this is on GigaOM.
Yes.
Which is your old home on the internet. Om Malik's wonderful and sorely missed tech blog. At the time, it was going great guns. In fact, one of the stories from 2011 is how Om just raised another $6 million, I think, with venture capital, because he was trying to get into the research business. Yeah.
Oh, and that went well.
Yeah, I know.
I believe it is the reason why we ended up
Yeah.
Gone.
folded.
Yeah.
Moving ahead.
But,
Yes.
But boy, it was great. And you know what? Ohm's doing fine. In fact, all of the GigaOM alumni seem to be doing pretty well, including you.
I mean, I have a drinking problem, but other than that, I mean, we're fine. No, we I think
It wasn't a good, 2011 was not a good year for online journalism. For instance,
Is there?
AOL bought the Huffington Post. Remember that?
Yeah.
Actually, probably was really good for Arianna Huffington, who probably made a lot of money, but it wasn't so great for the rest of the HuffPo or its readers. Do you remember this? Rupert Murdoch
I don't
built
remember
a
him, no.
beautiful news studio in New York City to launch The Daily, which is going to be an iPad-only newspaper. Hired a bunch of journalists.
Yes.
Went belly up quick.
Kenned.
Lost the kind.
Ken, you're right. Yes.
Lost a lot of money, but I've talked to people who worked for The Daily who said, "Well, you should have seen that newsroom. Boy, was that was sweet."
that was fancy.
That's sad.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing at the beginning of the decade is the turmoil that has gone on with journalism in general, and online journalism in particular, throughout the decade.
And if Jeff were here, I'm sure he could give us a crash course in all of it.
Oh, Jeff Jarvis knows it all. By the way, he was a regular on our shows in those early days as well. I didn't know you yet, so.
That's okay.
But I have to say, I did read you, and all of the folks at GigaOM.
Yeah.
That was a great resource. And Ohm was on a lot. We had Ohm on all the time at the time. We called him the Yoda of tech.
That is so apropos for Ohm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
He's the Yoda of photography.
Yeah, boy, is he a great
yeah.
photographer. January 2011, IBM's Watson wins at Jeopardy.
Finally.
Poor Watson now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Boy,
where is Watson
Watson
now?
is drunk somewhere in an alley,
Yeah.
not doing so
No,
well.
not so
I
well.
played Watson in 2012. I did lose.
What did you play?
Wait, how did you?
I
what?
played Jeopardy with him at the
wow.
Computer History Museum. And the first category was states that are anagrams, which is terrible for a computer.
Yeah.
Or it's
For a
great for a
human.
Yeah,
computer.
great for a computer, bad for you.
I was
Good
like,
for you. Yeah.
really? Really? They're loading the game against him. Basically, my colleague was a VC who was I think he was a nuclear physicist. And we teamed up together with the audience.
Wow.
And we still lost.
Oh.
So, yeah, Watson. But now,
Not so much.
Well,
now.
but that actually is an important point because the only really interesting skill Watson had was parsing the question because it wasn't given the questions ahead of time.
Well,
but the natural language understanding because it had a database of
I was
answers.
and the ability to compute all of the.
If you were allowed to play Jeopardy with Google,
yeah, you'd win.
you'd win. So the only thing at all interesting about that was understanding the question. It had 200 million pages worth of information in its data bank. It had, and it was an 80 teraflop machine.
So I'm going to say this because I remember writing after my thing with Watson. I remember writing about how Watson was different from Siri. So I had to look it up. And Siri was launched in February 2010. I know we're going back a whole year.
Oh, I didn't.
But that
I
feels
didn't
relevant.
have that in here. That is very relevant. Launched with the iPhone 4. Yeah,
So there you go.
you're absolutely right. That's pretty important. You
So
know,
the
what was-
beginning of voice.
You know what great thing was launched in 2011? Google Plus.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Wow.
You got my hopes up.
It was also the year that the tablets. Everybody said, "Oh, this iPad's going
it's
to eat
time."
our lunch."
Yeah.
You remember the HP touchpad? We had WebOS on it.
HP.
They
yeah.
bought. They had bought Palm
That's right. Yeah.
and made WebOS. Do you remember the Motorola Zoom XOOM?
Oh, definitely. My favorite.
No, I
Do you
don't.
remember
this
the
day.
BlackBerry Playbook?
I do remember that actually.
All of them massive flops.
Yeah.
Because they weren't iPads. In fact, it really wasn't until the next year when Amazon came along with the Fire tablet that anybody gave Apple a run.
My
Samsung
mom
a
still
later.
has one. It arrived at my house. It was
Fire
there
tablet?
last
A
week.
BlackBerry Playbook?
No, the Fire tablet.
Yeah, no, it's still vital and alive, and Samsung still does all right making tablets. I think.
Yeah.
A little company called Zynga filed for an IPO in 2011. Do you remember Farmville?
Was that the sheeps or the farms?
Yeah.
Well,
Probably both.
a lot of things.
Wait, did they do Words with Friends as well?
No.
No?
Well, did they? I don't know. That's a good question.
Yes.
They did.
I was like, who was sued by Mattel?
Are they
over
still?
Scrabble?
Are they still around, Karsten?
Yes.
Words with
Zynga's still
Friends is
around.
okay.
Yeah, Words with Friends, Zynga. They're still in our old building.
Also, Microsoft debuted Windows 8.
2012.
Oh, it was 2012. Oh, they announced that they were going to do it. It came out in 2012.
So I'm going to take you to trivia night and leave Leo behind.
Good plan.
It's all up here, Micah.
2012.
She's better than Watson.
Well, there's certain bad dates that are embedded in my
Yeah.
memory.
And Windows 8 was
Windows
one
8
of them.
was not.
Windows 8.
What was wrong with Windows 8?
Oh, where do we have
Where
all
to begin?
the rest of the day?
I'm going to show a little video because this was probably Steve Jobs' last public
my God, I
appearance
remember
at the
this.
city council meeting of Cupertino. Steve was visibly ill from pancreatic cancer. Apple had kind of hidden his illness for a long time, but by now everybody knew
As
that
Hewlett-Packard has been shrinking lately,
he wasn't
they
in great
decided to
shape.
sell that property, and we bought
He
it.
got the city council to approve
We bought
the
that, and we
Apple
bought some
spaceship
adjacent
campus.
property.
It was his last, I think, his last great creation, and this was his last great appearance. Of course, Steve passed away later that year.
I remember them asking, so could we maybe get some like infrastructure built out from you while if we're going to pass this, if we're going to let you build the spaceship, could maybe you sort of help us out in the city? And what was his response was something about, we're paying a bunch of taxes,
taxes.
so just use those to do that.
Yeah.
Did you ever interview him, by the way?
Steve Jobs?
Yes.
No, I'm not a fan of interviewing CEOs. We will get to your big
No,
CEO
I
interview in
interviewed
a little
Steve
bit.
Jobs
Did you
once.
really?
Intelligent. Remember that?
Oh God, yeah.
Pink OS.
Pink. That was the That was the
Was
IBM
that also named
Apple.
for the pink poodle?
No,
It
not
was
connected
it
to the
was
pink
the
poodle.
ill-fated IBM Apple collaboration
Right,
on an
and so
operating
when
system.
I worked at PC Week then, and they were really trying to promote it, and they said, "Do you want to come interview Steve Jobs?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And
And he
what
was
was
very
he like?
gracious.
He was gracious.
He was gracious
If,
and really
if you
great.
were somebody who could do him a service, he would stroke you. He would take care of you.
Yeah.
Walt Mossberg very famously
Right.
was well loved
He
by
loved
Steve
him.
Jobs.
Yeah.
My only experience with Steve Jobs is I spent a 4th of July weekend with him when he was at Next.
Did you
And
really?
his family, and Lisa was there,
Wow.
his daughter.
Oh man. Wow.
And he, I think, didn't think I could do any good for him.
Yeah.
So he just kind of ignored
Yeah.
me most of the
Yeah.
time. The only time he really said anything to me is when we were playing volleyball, and he wasn't happy with my performance, and he yelled at me a little bit.
Wow.
You need to set better.
Just kind of like that.
Yeah. Wow.
He was there with Lorene, his wife,
Mm-hmm.
who was wonderful, very gracious. And
She liked your volleyball performance.
his son Reed was there. He was. I read children's story to Reed.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
really
this
cool.
was
Wow.
must have been 1995 or 6
Yeah.
because he went back to Apple shortly after that.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't talk about it because it's not in this decade.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. Forget it.
Okay.
Forget
let that
it.
go.
Moving right along.
Yeah, that story's gone.
Duke Nukem Forever finally came out in
Who's he?
2011. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
this was an internet. This was like a
a
thing.
meme because it never
Yeah.
came out. It
Yeah.
never finally,
Oh,
like
I see.
years after promised. It was one of the great vaporware.
It doesn't belong on this list.
Okay, cool. Even Karsten didn't want to put it on the list. How about Mount Gox? Do you remember Mount Gox?
Was that?
That was the Bitcoin
Bitcoin?
exchange that was
Oh, right.
hacked
Yep.
and closed
That was a
after
big
people
deal.
lost a lot of Bitcoin, and that was when Bitcoin was maybe $100. You know, it wasn't what it ended up being. You will know this, Stacey. In March, the first LTE phone came out. They call it 4G, but it was the first true LTE phone from HTC. It was called, I want to say the Torpedo, but they couldn't. Oh, it was the
Thunderbolt.
the Thunder.
Thunderbolt.
It couldn't possibly be called the Torpedo.
I owned that.
You owned the Thunderbolt.
I had a
Yeah.
Thunderbolt as well.
Here's Bonnie Cha from CNET
This
with her
was-
review.
This was
Yeah,
arguably
'cause
the
I had
most
the- I had
important
the-
phone.
the
This and
MiFi for that.
the HP. What was it? What was the one that Sprint launched?
The Palm Pre or
No, it was the Evo. The Evo, the
yeah.
first
Yeah.
4G phone.
Yeah, this was a 4G.
Was
you can
the
even
one
see on
the
it.
operating
That's
system?
I had the HTC
One was
Evo.
the
That's
OS?
what I had.
Or was that a phone?
No, that was a phone later.
Okay.
But it did have that HTC look. It's
I
an
liked the
Android phone. I did too.
HTC OS.
I was a big fan.
Sense, that's what it was.
Sense. HTC
Oh my God, I
Sense.
remember the kickstand. That phone used to get so hot in my pocket. The battery would
In a
overheat.
good way or a bad
No, in
way?
a very bad way.
In an uncomfortable way.
I was in class trying to take notes, and this thing's burning my
But it was
skin.
fast. People were blown
Burning my-
away
yes.
by the 4G speed. So 4G started 10 years ago. It's kind of
I
interesting.
remember bringing that into revision 3 and people thinking it was so huge.
It's a phablet.
So big.
There wasn't a phablet.
It was
though.
not a phablet, but it was
At the
like
time, it was a
4
phablet.
inches.
Yeah, it wasn't that big.
It was
Well, in the
4.2
iPhone,
inches.
Yeah.
By the way, you
tiny.
can also see the subsidy in this CNET review because the MSRP is $470, but at Verizon it's $125 with 2-year contracts.
So what you're saying is that like almost 10 years ago, phones were half the price of what they
Yeah, I mean this phone was half.
Yeah,
and this.
wow.
Well, I don't think we even had the term flagship phone at the time, but this was a flagship
fancy
phone.
phone.
A fancy.
To go back, Harlem Shake was a pretty viral trend. I don't know if the video itself was viral, but
Harlem
the trend
Shake,
certainly was.
When was that?
Did you ever do that? Did you the Twitch
I
Studios ever
have
do the Harlem
video
Shake?
of it. Was that what year was that though? I don't think that was this year. We'll get to the Harlem Shake.
Okay, I thought they were nominating for most viral.
It was
video.
a big one, and there is a video of me doing the Harlem Shake
Oh,
that
that's
I will
wonderful.
never live down.
Oh man.
And
That's
Burke
fantastic.
will never forgive me for, or John. You know what shipped in 2011? The Lytro camera.
That's the one with all
Oh,
the
yeah.
weird.
lenses?
Yeah, you
lenses.
didn't have to focus it because it would take a picture in multiple focal lengths,
Yeah.
and you decide after the fact. And it did ray, kind of like ray tracing, and people thought this was the next big thing in photography.
I remember Ohm writing because I edited it. It was like a 2,000 or 3,000 word blog post about this thing.
Yeah.
And I just was like, oh my God, I'm still writing or
Put the
reading
blah,
about
blah,
the
blah
camera.
headline on that
Yeah.
one.
Blah blah Litro.
Blah, blah, blah.
It was disappointing. I mean,
that wasn't one of the big debuts of the year.
No.
There were bigger debuts.
we're just reminding you that it happened.
It happened.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones came out for the first season. Was in 2011.
And we still don't have the last book, but I'm not complaining, George R. R. Martin.
George R.R. Martin got so engrossed in watching the show that he forgot to write the next chapter.
Oh, did Spotify come in this year?
Spotify. Now, this, I think people like
Yes.
you probably don't even remember a time in your life when there wasn't any Spotify, Micah.
I remember when it was not in the U.S. and it came to the
it
U.S. for
was
the first
Daniel
time.
X started it in Sweden.
I had I had a illicit
Secret
thing
Swedish
because I had
account?
the-
Pirated Swedish Spotify?
Oh,
But
my
that reminds me,
word.
so Turntable FM was around this time. Does anyone remember that?
I think, was that where you
Yes.
could...
In fact, I left out the stories because, but we
it
could
collaborative?
totally
Sorry, that
talk
was
about
so
it.
fun, though.
I
Who didn't
love
enjoy it?
Turntable FM.
Wasn't it collaborative?
It was the
It was
rise and fall.
collaborative DJ.
I remember that.
So
that
you'd
was
have
fun.
a screen, and somebody would be a DJ, and you'd choose the songs.
Yes.
And
And
you'd
there'd
have
be
your little
people in the
avatars.
front would be dancing and making signs, and they immediately got sued.
Yeah.
and
such
then
a
they
cool idea.
pivoted, and then they went out. of
Wait,
business.
I'm reading that Spotify could bring back that feature.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. This
That's
is
next
as of
decade.
2019. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Turntable FM was great. Meg Whitman left eBay to become CEO of HP. HP had gone through, as you remember, a rocky
Very rough.
few years.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
that was the
hired-
post-Herd?
Yeah, they hired Mark Hurd, who got fired for
Inappropriate
in a,
touching.
he hired somebody. There's actually a funny piece I was watching with me and Dvorak talking about what he did.
Yeah.
Somebody said, a hooker. And I said, she wasn't a hooker, she was a greeter. And they said, oh, that's what you call them. He had hired a young woman to be a greeter at HP functions. And then he got in trouble with the board because he used company money to take her out to dinner and whatever else. So he got fired. Larry Ellison immediately said that's the stupidest thing I ever heard and hired him to be
He's a great
CEO.
guy.
He's a great guy. He ran Oracle for a long time.
Yep.
He passed
Only
this year.
recently,
Also
only
passed this
recently
year.
passed. And then he was followed by Leo Apotheker.
Right. A whole bunch of scandals there.
Oh.
That's a name?
He bought Autonomy?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
What was
yep.
Autonomy?
Enterprise software.
Yeah.
Well, apparently Autonomy actually wasn't anything. He believed that they had a product and something
Right. He
useful.
didn't do due diligence on it.
Didn't do enough due
Right.
diligence, spent a ton of money on it.
And
they
there was
ended up-
actual fraud in
There was fraud
Autonomy's
involved.
accounting. Yeah.
And he ended up, they took a big write-off for that. So after those rough spots, I think there might have been somebody else in there.
I know.
Wait, this was when HP, was this when they were spying on journalists?
Yes.
Yes.
This was,
was also
okay.
the tech,
Yep.
what they call a pretexting scandal with
Right.
HP.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, there were a number of HP scandals with the board of directors as well. This was the pretexting.
Right.
was-
Okay.
Yep.
So they
times.
went out and they got Meg Whitman, and you know what? I think that was at least her tenure at HP was not rocky.
Right.
HP had gone through some really tough times before that. Remember
Yeah.
the horrific merger with was it Gateway? Who did they buy? They
Oh,
bought
the
a-
Cow Company, the Cow Computer
Yeah.
Company, and they bought.
Yes, the cow. That's what I
All their
think of,
boxes
too.
were
the cow
cows.
box. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember having.
they've done. Yeah, HP's had a
It's been rough.
run.
And
Big
then
launches
Xerox.
in 2011 include Snapchat.
Whoa,
Oh, yeah.
throwback.
Whoa! Snapchat was the one. Maybe I got the name wrong for Instagram. I think Snapchat was originally Peekaboo. I think I got that wrong. It was created by Stanford graduate students. Maybe it was Instagram that was Peekaboo.
Evan Spiegel and the other.
Yeah,
guy.
because wait a minute. So Reggie Brown founded in April 2011 an ephemeral messaging platform. They launched in Evan Spiegel's father's living room under the name Peekaboo. After Evan Spiegel and Bobby Murphy forced Reggie Brown out of the company in 2012, they renamed it Snapchat. And that is a saga.
Back to HP, it was Compaq, by the way.
Compaq, not Gateway. It was the HP Compaq merger is a textbook example of a bad merger.
Oh, that was
a merger that
fantastic.
just didn't go well. Yes, of course. What am I thinking? Not Gateway. Who bought Gateway?
I know. Who did buy
Compaq.
it?
It's like a fish eating a
I
fish
know.
eating a fish. Amazon released its first Fire tablet.
Okay.
The only tablet released the year.
Acer.
Acer bought Gateway.
Yes. I'm like, who bought them?
Who bought Acer? Nobody.
Nobody yet. Nobody yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where memory is not a good servant, and so we have to
This is
have
where
notes.
Google comes in.
helps.
I'm
Google's
like,
very
Google's my
handy.
external brain.
I wanted before we move on from Snapchat, Snapchat itself. I feel like this that service sort of launched a whole new genre, not just of ephemeral apps, but sort of quirky, offbeat.
Well, that was their philosophy was, and I think this was very smart and conscious, make it kind of an impenetrable user interface. What do I, there were no controls, nothing.
Yeah.
You had to know, you swipe. And here's my theory on it, and it's never been disproven, I think it's true, is that they knew, well, if you don't tell people how to use it, some bright kid will figure it out, and then he'll tell his friends, and he'll be the cool kid, and he'll actually virally spread it for you. Whatever they did, it did spread virally very quickly and became, it still is, I think, among young people, the platform of choice.
It is.
Which is an interesting story.
really?
Yeah.
I thought they were all on the gram.
So this is interesting. My youngest brother is an Instagram stories guy. My brother born in 90, so he was born in 2000, the youngest brother who's doing Instagram stories. The one born in 98 is a Snapchat fiend. I have a former partner though who's just a year younger than I am, and he does everything on Snapchat.
Okay.
So
You get a
it's
choice.
interesting.
Yeah.
And
The
I
reason
don't
Instagram
do
started to eat
Snapchat really.
Snapchat's lunch is because Mark Zuckerberg
Yes,
couldn't buy
copied it.
Snapchat. Tried to, couldn't buy it. So he said, fine, we'll just copy it. And
Well-
Instagram Stories is definitely a copy.
Yes, but that was a decision made before Mark Zuckerberg bought Instagram. Instagram's head, the guy that ran Instagram, he was the one who decided to copy
Kevin Systrom?
Yes, Kevin Systrom. Yeah, because there's I remember this article clearly because I had to write this story about it.
Before he left Facebook, he decided to do that.
And there's this whole profile where he's like, yeah, we copied Snapchat, and he was not ashamed of the fact that he did.
That's
and
life,
then,
man.
I got purchased after that because Facebook was still trying to do a couple Snapchat clones of its own before Instagram was merged with the company.
Other big launches in the year 2011, the first Galaxy Note, the first phablet.
The first
Now
phablet.
that was a big
That's a
phone.
phablet.
It was, I think, 5.7. It wasn't giant. In fact, the next year, Google released the Nexus 6, which was the Shamu. They called it Shamu, the killer whale. And it was 6 inches. And it still looks big to me. So there's something going on. Because our screens are bigger than that now, but I think it's the bezels, and the size of the.
We are only on 2011. I know.
Oh my God.
This is my face when I was
the
like,
original
You're gonna need a
Galaxy
refill.
Note was 5.3
5.3. That's the small iPhone. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Isn't it? The current small iPhone. And the most important release of 2011, Minecraft.
Oh my word.
A whole generation of kids have grown up on Minecraft.
Yeah.
and you know what? It's coming back.
Thanks to Microsoft. We're going to get to
Microsoft bought
Microsoft's acquisition, but boy,
2014.
yeah, that really, they saved it.
Throwing it out there.
3 years later, well, Mojang, as it turned out, had some
I know.
flaws.
Flaws,
Notch,
yeah.
the creator of
guy.
Minecraft,
Yeah.
brilliant guy, but he was a weirdo.
Yeah. To put it nicely, yes.
He ended up spending the Microsoft,
No judgment.
I hope no one ever says that about me.
He ended up spending the Microsoft money to buy a mansion in LA that had its own candy room.
What
A room.
Candy.
that makes candy or is
No,
just
it
filled?
just had lots of candy in it.
I rented a house like that once at Disneyland, and it was awesome. It had a candy wall.
Yeah, this has a candy wall. So it's got dispensers of all kinds
Yeah,
of
it was.
candy.
I'm going to tell you, the week that I was there were the most hopped up weeks I've
bet.
ever had in my life.
Candy everywhere.
Now
Seems
see,
so dangerous to have readily available
does.
free candy.
It's not a good idea.
and how does it get replenished? That's my thing.
Right.
We had a person who literally would come.
A
and
candy
replenish it.
person?
But now, and they checked every 2 days.
Candyman.
The candy
The
man.
Candyman came.
Oh no, see, Candyman's scary. I don't want to.
But now with IoT, you could actually just automatically send a
Yes.
notification.
Oh my God,
This was
yeah.
pre that.
See,
because
I
we're only
could
in
live with it
2011.
if it's just, Swedish
somehow
fishes and
I love Swedish
hot
fish.
tarts and good and plenty. But if they put a Hershey's Kisses, if they put chocolate in there,
Three
I'd be
Musketeers.
Oh,
it's
but
over.
Swedish kisses. Swedish kisses are so good.
Swedish.
I do
don't wanna
prefer
hear
the
about
Swedish
your love
ones.
life. Swedish fishes are very
Swedish
good.
fish are very good.
Very good.
Now, can we talk about that for a second? This has nothing to do with anything.
Your love life?
Swedish
No,
fish?
not my love life. There is, in recent years, an acceptance, and this is a linguistic thing. An
I'm really
acceptance-
curious about
Me
where
too.
he's
Where's
going
he
with
going
this.
with this?
What's he about to say? That the pluralization of fish is fishes.
No, it's okay.
What is that?
So fishes is if you have multiple species of fish. So if you have more than, like if you have tetras and catfish, you have fishes.
Okay.
But if you have 5
Swedish
tetras,
fish, then it's just
Yeah.
Swedish fish.
I have a different theory.
What is your
no,
theory?
mine is just right. It's
Yours
not a
is
theory.
right. Mine is made up.
I love
it's
this
different.
show.
My different and made up theory is it all started with mice. Because this is a mouse, right? I'm holding the pointing device. What do you call 2 mouse devices?
Mice.
Why would I ever have?
No, they're mouses.
I would say mice.
Mouses?
I would say
They're
mice.
not mouses.
I would say mice.
What do you do
They
with
are
surface?
mice.
Surf-fi. Guys, come
So
on.
It wasn't a great theory, but it was a
It's
theory.
iPods Pro.
Like
No.
attorneys general.
It's
Yes,
AirPods Pro.
Attorneys General.
Yeah, okay. See, I like, now I know. Fishes is used when you've got multiple species of fishes.
Yeah, it's still
Do
species.
you remember Sopa Pippa as we go into 2012 now?
Oh, we're moving on. Yes.
Sopa Pippa was, it was,
Huge.
A new soap brand.
It
SOPA
was-
was Stop Online Piracy Act. PIPA was Protect IP Act. These were copyright bills that the internet rose up in protest. Google, Mozilla, Flickr. Some shut down. Some went dark.
It was the first
Oh,
big
yeah, the
web
blackouts.
protest. So
Yeah.
all of these companies saw that their business model was going to be threatened by potential lawsuits. And they said, holy cow. Plus, their user base was so against it. Like everybody on the internet was like, oh. And so they actually did these blackouts where they were like, in honor of Sopa Pippa or Stop Sopa and Pippa, you went to these sites. Now, at the bottom, you could always click through to get to what
Right.
you were actually getting to. But it was a huge deal. And we also saw things like Twilio was in effect by then, but people called their congressmen, and it was like the first big tech
Yeah.
activism.
January
I remember
18th,
going to
2012.
Tumblr and I'm like, I just want to see my feed. I gotta do something
is
to
this
stop
BS?
Sopa and Pippa.
Yeah, well, that's probably why it worked, because enough
that
people
is.
went there. We didn't want to go dark. I'm seeing if I can find.
Did you go dim?
We went black and
We
white.
went black and white.
Oh, that's
We
fun.
went black and white. So we
That's
did our
fun.
whole
That's
day's shows on January 18th. Let me see.
Oh, I do remember
16th, 17th,
That's the
18th. It
first
would have
thing I
been Windows
remember.
Weekly,
Yeah,
I
it
think.
was Windows Weekly. We were
Yeah.
black and white.
That's so
That's
Yeah.
some fun.
That's the only thing I remember about this. I'm like,
Yeah.
Sopa Pippa? What?
No, I think you're right.
We debated in the newsroom, like, do we go dark? We can't go dark. We were getting the best traffic of our lives on these stories. And it also felt like we should probably pay attention to it and give
Yeah,
people
cover
content.
it.
That's the challenge. You want to cover it, and I wanted to cover
Yeah.
it. So by
think it was
by
Windows
going black and white, I think that was a really kind of good way to handle it, because it got your attention.
Right.
Yeah, I
Oh, yeah.
remember writing a story just about all of the different big sites that had gone black that day, and then having to explain sort of what Sopa and Pippa were.
Right.
But we didn't at Newsy. We did not go dark or anything.
I think that probably you can trace that back to the big first web activism, and it's not going to be too many more months before the next fight is net neutrality, and that was another one we won.
Oh,
the
yeah.
last one we won. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Raspberry Pi came out in February
Bless its
2012.
beautiful little soul.
What a great thing that has been.
I've got one running right now
Fantastic.
at my, not here, but at my house, running the HomeKit. It's called Homebridge. And it-
You're a Homebridge user?
oh, of course.
Micah, we gotta
Should we
talk.
swap seats?
I feel so much love in my heart. For you.
Yeah. So you.
Homebridge, is that the open source one or no?
It is an open source.
One of the open source
We'll let
ones.
Micah
Yeah.
explain.
So it's an open source server that runs. Oh gosh, no, I can't think of the platform. But essentially, it lets you connect.
It's not OpenHab.
It's not running OpenHab.
Okay.
No.
Is it running Homebridge?
It's running. It's like a JavaScript thing. Anyway, I can't remember at the moment, but the point is that it lets you connect non-HomeKit compatible devices to It's Node.js. That's a Node.js server. And so I've got one running right now for some of the devices that I have that are not HomeKit enabled so that they can connect. And it basically turns them into HomeKit enabled devices, which is nice for someone who, for me, I primarily control my home with the use of HomeKit. But have you heard of Hoobs?
I have not heard of Hoobs.
So Hoobs is awesome.
It's like a foreign language.
And it is.
I don't know what we're talking about.
It is a way.
It's what called you Hoobastank fans call.
That's what we call ourselves. Actually, we are Hoobs. No, Hoobs is HomeKit on. Oh gosh, what do they call it?
Banana.
Mikah, you're working your way into an invite onto my show.
There you go. You got to come on mine too.
Well, we have a home automation show called Smart Tech Today.
Yeah, so we need to
not in competition. They're just different shows.
I'm leaving right
now.
Oh
no,
it's done.
Yeah, we'll have
you weren't supposed to mention.
Yeah, wasn't that in the writer?
Stacey doesn't pay
here's one
attention
from
to everything.
CES 2012.
I'll send it to you.
We're going back to CES. Aunt and I are going to go to CES.
Are you really? Ooh,
CES used to be the place you go to see what's next. LG showed off the world's largest OLED TV. OLED was just starting.
Let me tell you about it.
55 inches. It was the largest OLED TV ever made. 55 inches.
I still have it on my wall. No.
Was this the introduction of OLED as well, or just it was just a big TV with OLED?
I'm sure it was 10 grand or 20 grand. I'm sure it was really expensive. It was also Coney 2012. Do you remember Coney 2012?
Oh, of course I remember Coney 2012.
Oh, that was that thing.
That was he was a warlord, right?
Yes, he was a warlord, and so they wanted to make him super. No, it's a real life thing. No. They wanted to make him super famous, so that people would actively try to stop this guy through donations and things like that.
So you'd see Coney 2012 bumper stickers. You still see in Petaluma, down above the Petaluma Pie Company, somebody has a Coney 2012 thing in his window. I think it's widely agreed that was an internet campaign that did not go anywhere.
It didn't work very well.
It's not something we're proud of on the internet.
Yeah. No, which is a bummer because you'd think that it would have worked. As much as I saw so much Coney 2012 stuff, but I think it was just the concept. They tried. There was the idea of if we treat this like it's almost a campaign.
Well, what happened is it went viral without any context.
Exactly. Yes. You've summed up what I was going to say in many more words. Good
nobody
work.
knew what the hell it was. They thought he was running for president. There was going to be a presidential election that year. Nobody knew what it was. This was also the year Kodak went Chapter 11, the end of the line. So it's kind of a textbook story of what goes wrong in the digital world. Kodak knew digital was coming. They even had some of the first digital cameras. They bought Ophoto, which was a digital storage and developing site. They said, we know it's going digital. The problem was their entire financial structure was based on the very highly profitable sale of film and developing. And once that went away with digital, there was no way they could succeed. You'll still see the Kodak name. They've sold the name. But, Kodak disappeared in 2012.
You know who came up in 2012?
Who?
Grumpy Cat.
Oh.
That's
pour one out.
The late, great Grumpy Cat. Little Bub just passed away.
That's all I wanted to say.
Pour that one out too.
Little Bub. Here's the Little Bub. Do you know who Little Bub is?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
I'm on the internet.
Stacey's hip.
She has children.
Remember, Minecraft came out in November of 2011. By the spring of 2012, a 16-year-old had already made a working Minecraft scientific calculator.
That's incredible.
That's a sign that something is going on, right? The Lumia 900, remember that? That came out in 2012. That
Getting
was,
up to a rough
is that a
period for
smartphone?
Microsoft.
Windows. It was a Windows 7 phone.
That's post
Did it have a big old
Nokia.
camera on it? Or I remember, I coveted that phone
this was
too.
a great phone.
It was
That
beautiful.
was before Microsoft bought it.
You know what this looks like?
What?
Essential Company's Andy Rubin's
Oh, their new deal.
new OS on their phone.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Sorry.
Microsoft had Windows Phone for years, a variety of them, up to 6.5. They said, back to the drawing board.
Yep.
We know Android's already big. We know iPhone's already big, but we want to make a phone operating system. We want to rethink the phone operating system. And they did.
Yep.
That's the sad thing.
Yep.
Windows Phone 7, this is, right, was great.
Right?
The
And
Windows
then
Phone launched in October 2010. Windows Phone 7.
Windows Phone
7.
7.
And then Nokia made some of the most amazing hardware to go with it. Maybe this is Windows Phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
so
7
pretty.
still.
It was so pretty.
Actually, 7.5.
Yeah, it
so
was
this was a big
7.5,
jump
yep.
with 7.5. This was, God, in every respect, this was a great phone with great software.
Yep.
But they couldn't get developers to write software for it, and most importantly, they couldn't get carriers to
It was
push
too
it.
late, right? I
was
mean,
too late.
Android and iOS own the phone market, and then here comes Microsoft.
I remember though they bought a lot of TV slots. They did a lot of promotional things. So when you watched what was Mindy Kaling's show, the OB-GYN one. They always had these phones, and I think like
The Mindy Project.
the Mindy.
Oh,
thank
good,
you.
yes.
And then there was
There were a few. In fact, even in the earliest days of the Kevin Spacey show, House of Cards, they all had Windows phones.
They paid so much for placement.
And
right?
it really, honestly, it dates you. Because if you see a show,
know.
it's a generic smartphone, well, you just don't pay any attention. But if it's a beauty shot of a Windows phone, you go, wow,
Yeah.
that's old.
Right?
Wow, that's gone.
No, I had a Windows phone. I loved it. Like, it was amazing.
Windows
so
Phone
happy
K8
about it.
came out that year as
Yep.
well in 2012. And that was another big improvement. So did Windows 8.
Yeah, not a big improvement.
That was the
That was
launch.
terrible.
More like Windows hate.
Come on, did you ever look at Windows 8? That was a disaster. We
Oh,
knew
it
it
was
was going to be
awful.
a disaster.
It was awful.
It was
It
bad.
was horrible.
They forgot the Enterprise.
Speaking of horrible,
Oh, God.
guys,
Oh,
I'm
now
just
I
never
understand.
forget the Enterprise.
Never.
Speaking of horrible, Bravo thought, you know what would be a good idea? To make a Silicon Valley reality show.
I never
Big
heard
Brother.
of this.
I'm glad
No
I
one
missed
has.
this.
This went down fast.
I never heard of
Here
this.
are the stars, according to Business Insider, of the new Silicon Valley reality show. Randy Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg's sister, produced it. Hermione Way,
I'm sorry, it's pronounced. No, I'm just kidding.
Hermie one.
Yep.
Ben Way,
Yeah. that's how
Kim
it's-
None of these people, I don't know where they are today.
Who are these people?
But they were all, look
Who
at
is
them.
that?
That's Marcus.
That's a great name.
That can't be his real name. Marcus Lovengood.
Oh, God.
Hi, I'm Marcus
Would you want
Lovengood.
your real name on that show? No.
No, that's a good point.
He's the
Would you
founder of
want to be
Future
Marcus
Leap.
Lovengood though?
No.
Hello, I'm Marcus Lovengood.
Here's Dwight Crowe, the founder of Carsabi. And the only one in the show that can write code. That tells you a little bit about what all of
Not
this.
write code, can code. When did code become a verb?
Code is a verb. Is it not
Well,
a verb?
to code, yeah, okay.
I code, you code,
Yeah.
Okay.
he, she, it codes.
And there's Randy.
And
They
then
code.
Randy Zuckerberg, who
Is singing? Is that, what is that, karaoke?
That's got to be karaoke.
By the way, I forgot to mention that this was the year that Mark Zuckerberg announced he was only going to eat food he killed.
Oh, my God.
Oh, was that his challenge for 2012?
Yeah. Only going to eat food that he killed himself.
Wow.
That didn't go well.
It did not.
Does it count if you cut like a celery stalk from?
No, he killed meat.
Oh.
Probably with a bow and arrow or his bare hands.
You know,
depending on his
that's
mood.
actually probably true.
Yeah.
I could see him
Now,
definitely. doing
Facebook
that.
did do something right in 2012. They bought Instagram for a mere, at the time it sounded crazy because it's an app, $1 billion. A mere,
Now that
and
seems like, sure.
that is pocket change
No
today.
problem.
But
Yeah.
at the time it seemed like, my God, I remember us saying,
Yeah.
$1 billion for an app.
Yeah.
I remember the whole newsroom being loud that day.
Yeah.
Wait, $1 billion? And I'm like, wait, you don't understand.
Do you remember this at Google I.O.?
Tell me it's the motorcycles.
Sergey Brin interrupting Vic Gundotra.
We're gonna do something pretty magical here.
He's wearing,
And we
what's he
have a
wearing?
special surprise for
Is
you.
he wearing,
He's wearing something on his face.
Sensitive, so I apologize
is it
for
Google
interrupting.
Glass?
It's the shower visor.
We've seen some really compelling demos here. They were
I
slick,
remember
they were
this.
robust.
Sergey will never live
this
this
is gonna be
down. This
nothing
for
like
the
that.
rest of his life is what he's known for.
This can go wrong in about 500 different ways. So tell me now, who wants to see a demo of Glass?
Glass, we'd heard a lot about it. Everybody was talking about it. We didn't know what it was. We see him wearing it.
And we're all like,
Yep.
So we've been really excited to test it for a few months.
Kevin
The unit
still has
I
his,
actually
by
really
the
want
way.
to show you. I lent to a friend, and he's going to be here momentarily. My friend's JT. He does a lot of skiing, base jumping, wingsuiting, all sorts of crazy things. And
He's in a
he's actually pretty
dirigible.
close by. He's just about a mile overhead right now with his buddies. They have a few Glass units. If you guys can maybe afford to wait that
this
couple
was
minutes.
EMC level stunting.
Maybe they'll bring it down.
$1,500 each. The rental of the blimp is more than that per hour.
All right. We're about to get into a hangout here with JT.
I'll skip ahead a little bit because there's a little bit of mechanics here. But they're going to jump out
They've got to get to the right place.
and land on the roof of the
I'm gonna record,
hall, which I think it must be Moscone.
I hope so. That's a big hall.
And Sergey runs up to the roof. There they are. They landed on the roof.
Okay, so the roof is a little bit big there, so it would take a while to run down the length of it.
They ride a bicycle.
Sorry about that.
Did Alex Lindsay produce this? I feel like maybe he did. And there they are. They rode their bicycles.
Carabined? What is it?
The carabiner down the side of Moscone Center. And there it is, Google I/O, the debut of Google Glass.
It's too bad they didn't have Google Glass when you were at that Apple event.
Yeah,
exactly.
it would have saved me a lot
Right?
of trouble.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah, this is so at the time, remember you would put in an order for glass, and they would send you a thing of glass with the number. I was
Is this really
737.
glass?
Yeah, it's just
It's
glass.
not plastic.
You might try
It's
it.
glass.
Give it a little bite.
And this is it.
That's for gold or pearls, my friend.
Oh, I think it's glass.
It's not gold.
Don't do it.
Ow.
Yeah.
And so this is the $1,500 Google Glass.
Founders Edition, or what was it called at the time?
This will get you beat up in a San Francisco bar like that.
In New York, I remember a person came into the old Rattle and Hum wearing that, and everyone just stopped. And people said, "What is it?" And I'm like, "It's Google Glass, and they can take your picture if they blink." And they threw them out.
Wow.
They're like, "Nope."
You tattled.
I tattled, but you know what? It was Google, so I didn't care.
Oh my God, he's taking so many photos of me right now.
Like, who cares?
Right?
Now we do.
No, but okay. What
At
if
the
you're in the
time.
men's
We're
room?
on TV.
Yeah.
So,
Remember the
men's room?
Scoville
Please,
shower
yeah.
pic? I mean, are we still?
Right?
so there's
Oh,
some
no,
advantage.
don't
So
point that out.
Jason's daughter was it Savannah? Her first steps he recorded on Google Glass because I wasn't going to wear this.
No.
I gave it to Jason to wear for All About Android.
Yeah.
Is it on here? Could I watch it? Oh, she's looking.
Yeah.
That's right, because
it's
he
like a
wasn't
direct
holding a
line of
camera.
sight.
They could
Right.
interact while he's recording.
Yeah.
So there were some cool things.
It just was not. It was ahead of its time,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we still need to have that discussion as a society about privacy and what to do with
Definitely.
things.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be awesome if people had personal jammers where we could
Yes.
Ooh.
be like, I
This-
want to be private.
I have to say, what did happen throughout this decade, it was roundabout now that the NSA announced, this is before the Snowden revelations, the NSA announced they were going to do a big face recognition project. And they were going to invest $1 billion into developing face recognition technology. And at the time, no alarm bells went off.
Well, and this was the year 2012 was the year of so ImageNet was actually created in 2019 or
ImageNet, that was the name of it.
2009,
Yep.
and that was a database of pre-categorized, pre-annotated faces and images. And in 2012, Jeff Hinton, who is now and his team of researchers, Jeff is now at Google. They were at the University of Toronto. They entered an annual competition, and they killed it. They beat it by like 40%.
And we all thought, this is great.
Well, yeah, and it was like the first. They did it using GPUs, and they did it using convolutional neural networks, and now we have like specialized chips for that. But this was the beginning of AI as this like viable technology and thing that was cost effective.
And as with a lot of internet and technology stuff, at first, people like me, and maybe you guys, were excited by the technology because we were impressed by what they were able to do. We didn't really consider what it might imply.
I do consider, like,
So that's good. You're
I've
different.
always been the person, and I'll say the reason why, and this is why diversity matters, you guys, is I had a stalker
Right.
in college.
Well,
And so
we've all had stalkers.
we've all had stalkers.
I've had stalkers. You have had stalkers. We've all had stalkers. Mary
I
Jo
have
has
enterprise stalkers.
enterprise stalkers. They go
I
and
do.
they go up to her and
They're
in the
like,
grocery
hey,
store.
what do you
and
know
they go,
about data lakes?
It has gravity.
Tell me
Data
about the
has
latest advancements in Azure.
Say I do.
But yeah,
on the
so
edge.
whenever I saw these technologies, I would always run it through the lens of. Oh,
I think a
that's
woman
great.
is much more sensitive to
Definitely.
it, absolutely,
Yeah.
than a guy is. So I think that's really a good point. This was the year 2012. Marissa Mayer left Google for a job at Yahoo.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of debate. Was this the right thing to do? But she'd already been demoted a little bit at Google from being in charge of search to kind of a marketing job. So I think I argued, I think many of us argued, why wouldn't she do this? What a great challenge. Yahoo is a great internet name that's starting to fade. Maybe she can turn it around. And for the first few years, it looked like she was going to turn it around. She ultimately failed. But I don't know if that's her fault or just the changing scene.
Or both.
Or both. She gave, as she joined Yahoo, every employee a smartphone. The idea being, you ought to know about mobile. And that was smart, right? Yeah. 2012, it was the beginning of the transition to mobile. Apple introduced Maps, its own Maps.
Oh, my God.
It was just a flop. It was horrible.
It was a rough year.
The less said about that, the better.
Horrible. You know what else? Actually, this is actually an occasion to do something I actually meant to do earlier.
I thought he was going to stand up.
I thought he was going to drink.
Well, I've been doing that all along. I hope you have too. Yeah, you're just all you have is melted ice in yours.
Well, I thought we'd be further along in the decade.
It's a long decade. All right, I am going to move along a little faster, but I did think it'd be kind of fun.
We'll be done by the next decade.
Yeah, by 2029,
we'll be ready.
Maybe. Yeah. I thought it'd be fun to go through all of my Kickstarter pledges. You don't mind?
Oh.
You got time?
We have a lot of time.
You got some time? Yeah. The only reason I mention that is because it's really a sad kind of litany of failures.
Yeah, that is a bummer.
Starting with the Pebble watch.
That wasn't a failure.
Fitbit
My son still wears one every day.
Yeah.
The original.
And now there's Rebel software you can put on your Pebble to keep it going. And who just bought Fitbit? Google did.
Google.
And who owns Pebble? Fitbit.
So now Acer.
No.
No, now Google has
Gateway.
Compact?
Google has Pebble's IP, so I think that's interesting. I also bought in 2012 the Joey bra, which really wasn't for me. It was the first sexy and comfortable pocketed bra.
It sounds like a kangaroo thing.
I think that was the idea.
Yeah. Joey, get it?
It's got a pocket.
And Neil Young.
Oh, the Pono
Pony?
player.
Yes, Pono. Pony. I did want a pony. I thought it was a pony, but all I got was a Pono.
Pono, that's
the
it.
Pono player, which was Neil Young's attempt to bring high-resolution music, which he claimed he could hear the difference, and everybody else could hear the difference.
When I burned my CDs, I burned them all as FLAC files, and I put them up in a hard drive.
That's good enough.
FLAC files are the best.
No, but I mean the CD is. See, this is what Neil was saying. The CD is only 44.1 by 16. Oh, and
now, why didn't you get the yellow one?
That was the one that was advertised, but I got I thought it was a little classier to get the brushed metal. And look, it's got Neil Young's signature on it. It's a limited edition. And I ordered that on Kickstarter, and I can tell you what a valuable possession this has been.
You're using it right now.
You pulled that out of your pocket.
Later.
Yeah. So IRS, I'm going to deduct it again this year if you don't mind. Yeah. Actually, if you want to go back through the graveyard of bad technologies, looking at my Kickstarter
is a good way to.
Do you have a Juicero in there?
Oh my God!
Probably. I have an ostrich pillow. I have Ghost, which was a blogging platform, still around. An NFC ring.
NFC ring.
Did you fund the RoboCop statue?
I'm like, which one? I have one of those.
There was quite a few little things like that. I just felt like it was my duty to support. I also ordered, and we'll get to it. Well, I guess we can do it now.
Skip ahead a bit. Let's do it.
No, it's September. No, you're here for all day.
We're not
just
leaving.
Live with it.
We're here all
You're not
night.
going anywhere. I ordered in 2012 my Oculus Rift.
Oh.
This was the beginning of Oculus. This was the first. It did not look like that, by the way. The first Oculus Rift.
It's a concept drawing.
They raised, I think, $2 million.
Oh, I thought that was the Cybertruck.
They raised $2 million, and then 18 months later, sold to Facebook for $2 billion.
Yep.
And a lot of us said, "This is another thing I bought on Kickstarter."
Oh,
this is the ostrich pillow.
The ostrich is amazing.
Do you know about this? You know
flying?
about this?
Oh yeah,
I've seen them before, but I've never.
This was
experienced the
yeah,
ostrich.
experienced the ostrich.
So the idea is you put this on your head. You're on the airplane,
Right,
and you want to sleep. Yeah. So this covers your eyes,
and your nose can still breathe.
You can put your arms in that, and then you can sleep like this.
Okay.
Or in the library.
And it also keeps people away from you because look at you.
I am not an animal. Yeah, that's another. I'm telling you, in order to do the research for this decade, I had to go through all of my Kickstarter pledges. Diaspora, remember that was going to replace Facebook?
Oh. Yeah. And now there's what's the other one that we
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I have been through a lot, my friends. I've been through a lot, all on your behalf.
that was for Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
I actually would like to show you this. This is CES. Steve Ballmer. Actually, I have to skip ahead on this one. Let me get the time code. 4150 in. Steve Ballmer. Do you remember this? It was the Qualcomm keynote.
2012.
2012.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
By the way, Father Robert Balacer,
just because we talked about it the week before, they said
Will
had a very
Harris,
cryptic,
and Roger Chang on the
invitation,
panel. This
a
is
shape
the
for
new Brick House
television
studio that we had
sets.
moved
People were
into.
speculating maybe it's portrait, maybe it's see-through.
And let me
Turns out to
jump
be a
ahead.
freaking TV on.
And here is the worst. One of the worst. This predates the awful Samsung announcement. Remember that when they had the people on stage. This is Qualcomm showing the mobile generation. This is supposed to be your generation.
It's like a blackboard.
Here we go.
This is the CES.
This is your generation, Micah. I hope you own it.
Happy New Year.
I'm part of a new generation
Oh,
of
no.
texting.
I'm
Texting.
John, better known by Tornado. Tornado 92.
These are
I
actors,
just pwned half the
obviously.
world from backstage. So eat it, Volcano Mom 53.
Oh no.
I have a sweet job and a hot girlfriend, and by hot I mean like fuego.
I haven't drank enough to
Fuego?
watch
No.
this.
phone is my conference room.
This Qualcomm thought this was a good
Like
idea.
this, I'd punch him in the nose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Watch, he's gonna go boom.
Can you
Can we stop doing boom?
I hate
born
this so
mobile.
much.
We're born mobile.
You gotta be mobile if you want to be a top
Oh,
or a top
Nothing but
guy.
catchphrases.
Or super
It's all
popular.
coming
And it
back.
actually got worse.
I think there was.
And they used Born Mobile for a couple of years.
Yeah, Born Mobile. That's right. That's Qualcomm CEO.
That's Jacobs.
But get
Yeah,
ready.
Jacob's the younger.
Because here
He
comes
is the big guy.
runs on stage.
here comes
He's
Ballmer.
like a high school
Watch
coach.
this.
Showing
He
off.
tries to interrupt Steve.
Last month alone, CNN, Sony's Crackle, Songza, Twitter, Expedia, and Fitbit.
They also have plenty of power.
Huffington Post.
You don't stop the bomber.
I'm just going to talk over you.
Oh, 2012. What a year. It was also the year Steven Sinofsky left Microsoft. And I should say that probably had something to do with the release of Windows 8.
It did.
And Surface RT came out.
Also had something to do with that.
Something to do with that. I tried to find my RT. I have an RT at home, and I couldn't find
Oh.
it. It's probably holding up a window somewhere, but
Probably.
or keeping a door from closing.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now
Do you want me to be the militant time, guys?
No.
'Cause I will.
There's no limit because this is a podcast. We can go all day, but I do want to take a little bit of a break before we get into the second year of the decade. No, we're up to 20.
We're up to 3.
We're up to 2013, and we're going to move faster now. We're going to move faster. But what's really interesting is
Actually,
how
it
much
works this way,
happened
yeah.
in the first few years of the decade.
It is
was,
true.
It was really a big few years. Our show today brought to you by DigitalOcean. This is something new in this decade that has transformed the way startups, developers, even people like me who are just learning web technologies can get online. It's the most developer-friendly cloud platform you ever used, optimized so that you can manage and scale your apps easily. It has a great API, very intuitive, multiple options for things like storage, firewalls, load balancers. 1 million developers use DigitalOcean. I use it. I know Father Robert uses it because I'm learning different web technologies. You were talking about Node.js. Well, I'm not going to set up a Node.js server at home. It's very easy. In 55 seconds, I can set up a public Node.js server on DigitalOcean with my choice of operating systems, my choice of one-click installs. And you're never alone. They have over 2,000 open source tutorials. Because so many people use DO, everybody has written a tutorial on how to do whatever it is you want to do. In the marketplace, you'll find everything: Docker, Kubernetes, CloudBees, GitLab. You want to have your own Git? You can just set up a GitLab server. And it's inexpensive, too. I always choose the $5 a month server because I only pay for what I use, basically. Node.js, Ruby on Rails. You can set up a LAMP stack with your choice of operating systems. And DigitalOcean offers simple, predictable pricing, so you always know what you're going to pay per month with a flat, industry-leading pricing structure. At no additional cost, you get 24/7 by 365 world-class support, monitorings, alerts. You get 99.99% uptime SLA. You can have team accounts. There's DNS management. DigitalOcean is on a mission to simplify cloud computing so developers and their teams can spend more time building software to change the world. It has changed the way we provision and use servers. It's so much better. Go to do.co/twit today. I think back in 2010, if we'd known about this, we would have blown our minds. I remember Kevin Rose around about that time setting up his dig server and in his colo, and oh man, I mean, you have to go out there. It's so much easier. do.co/twit. If you go there today, you'll receive a free $50 credit, which is nice. That's really going to cover your costs for a while. That's do.co/twit. Free $50 credit at DigitalOcean. Designed for developers, built for businesses. And honestly, if you're trying to learn web technology, somebody like me, it's fantastic. You could set up a server in literally 55 seconds. In June, Google announced Loon, their balloon internet.
Did we kill that the other day on?
We did. We thought we should. I said we should kill it on Twig, right, Ant? But they have not killed it.
Okay.
So
yes.
that's not official.
You haven't shot them out of the sky yet.
Yeah.
The internet balloons.
Yahoo bought Tumblr.
Oh.
And then proceeded to kill it. God. Yeah. But it's back.
Well, I'm hoping.
You know what?
I'm hoping.
I killed my account on Tumblr when that happened. And who bought it? I forgot who bought
it's
it.
Verizon.
WordPress. Oh, you mean
No.
back then?
WordPress just bought it.
You're talking about now, right?
Oh, yeah, now.
Yeah. Verizon bought Yahoo,
yes.
so they got Tumblr. They sold it because they can figure out what to do with
Yahoo
it.
bought Tumblr.
So now that
Verizon
WordPress has it,
Yahoo.
I re-signed up. I said, you know what? Yeah. I love Tumblr. I still love the platform.
Yeah.
And I think WordPress will be a good
good steward. Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I
Tumblr,
feel about
I
it
love
as well.
Matt. Okay.
G4. You worked for G4, right?
Yes,
briefly?
I did.
G4 was starting to fall apart. What is it? I'm glad you asked. Yeah. It's nothing. Literally.
What was it?
Nothing. G4 was the successor to Tech TV. Comcast bought Tech TV and then brought it to LA and turned it into G4. They renamed the screensavers unaccountably The Attack of the Show. Olivia Munn was a host before she became famous.
I had a friend who wrote for Attack of the Show. That was a good show.
Well,
it was a different show.
Oh,
he worked
for it.
It was not.
It was not the screensavers, even though
they stopped being.
Kevin Rose was on it, and
anything
it was
tech related.
Anyway,
very,
they
very
wrapped
quickly.
up in 2013 with I feel like a vindicating video for me. The Pebble shipped in July 2013. We're in 2013.
I
now.
had one.
Yes.
I loved it.
I did too.
I have the original Pebbles. I still have it.
I bought it on Kickstarter.
Yep.
I recycled mine when I
My
moved.
son still
the
has
gadgets.
his.
And Karsten's son still has his, and he wears it every day.
He wears it every day.
You'll remember this, the 41 megapixel Lumia 1020. Remember that?
Yep.
Wow, 41 megapixel
That's the
camera
one I
phone.
remember.
That was the one
That's
with the big
one I
bump,
remember.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
The yellow.
Yeah.
I tried that out. It was big. The bump.
And you mentioned the Harlem Shake. Let me just we did have a brief Harlem Shake. That was a meme video. Were you around during the Harlem Shake period?
Were you alive?
Were you alive?
He's already talked about stories.
This was a meme.
as an analyst at that
Exactly.
time. He's
And
clearly
he was alive. He was
I
a
didn't really
child
even
prodigy,
know
but he's
about.
alive.
It was a weird meme where people are dancing or something.
You
Here,
start
show
out
the.
by not dancing.
They start out and then they end up.
And then when the Harlem Shake part hits, then you
dance.
Yeah.
Right.
There.
Go crazy. Yeah.
I don't know why this became a meme. You can turn it up a little bit.
because people are silly.
Borax there.
It looks rather suggestive.
Yeah, there's always.
Wait, who is that in the?
These guys have got issues.
I don't know. This is on the internet.
Oh, I thought that
was the first
You
one.
thought it was one of these people?
And then,
Yeah, I was like,
It's like
who is
future
that?
blackmail material.
Yeah.
office one, right at the makerspace, where it's a normal environment, but there's one guy doing this stupid dance. And then, for some reason,
Rafe
it's
Needleman,
completely
Jason
unknown.
Snell.
Everybody's dancing. And then it's over like at 15 seconds. It's the world's shortest.
Thank goodness for that. Yeah.
I wish it were over now.
We salute you.
Yeah. Do you have the Office one?
Yeah, so, well, here, let me find the Office one.
Really, the Norwegian Army version is the best.
Here's the Office one. This one's pretty good.
This is a make.
So
this
we're-
is like a make.
Yeah, it was just weird. That somebody would be standing there
Genius has edited that thing.
dancing, And
Oh yeah,
then-
it's one person dances.
No,
That's
the
right
time-
during
and
the
the time-
opening. Everybody else is frozen.
Confidence in the world that
okay.
network cars are where it's
What did
headed.
I mean? I'm trying to remember.
There's so many video. I mean, like remember the
That's
cinnamon
apparently they're
challenge.
consultants
and
from the
then there
University of
was-
California.
Oh, I remember the
Transportation
cinnamon
guy.
challenge and the milk challenge.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
gallon-
yeah, the ice
the
bucket
gallon
challenge.
Yeah. Oh my God,
Yeah.
Tide Pods.
Sorry,
Ugh.
Tide Pod challenge.
And then what is there was the hotline bling thing, and then there
Yes.
was the one where you get out of your car and you
Oh
run
my
around.
God.
That's recent.
Yeah.
Oh,
What is
that was
that?
terrible. Somebody got run over. Didn't
What's
they?
it? What's it?
Which one?
Here you go.
Oh.
Watch this. So we had to do our own. Harlem, turn up the sound.
Behind us here doing
know
the
if I'm
same
ready for
thing,
this.
hoping to get attention.
Where's my chin?
You need more gin.
I think that's our intern.
So that's
Do you have to
the
dance
is
like
that?
that?
doesn't know any better.
Somebody
He's a high
stands
school
there
That's
dancing.
pre-flossing,
And
flossing.
then, and then
Yeah, he does.
and then the bass hits, right?
Yes. And then everybody.
And then
does it.
everybody's dancing.
Yes. Oh, that's
okay.
fantastic.
That's cute.
This is awesome.
This one had an unfortunate ending that John and Burke remember very well. I'm dancing, everybody's dancing, and then for some reason, decided to get on the table and it broke.
Well edited.
I will never get on the table again. I'm just going to say.
That's why that day I almost sat on this. Everyone was like, no.
It's been
Now you know
done.
why.
Wait, is this the same table?
No, we had to get a new one.
Is there only duct tape under here?
The table's gone.
Equally
Twit fans will remember 2013 is the year Kevin Rose tossed a raccoon
I remember that.
down the
You
stairs.
saw it in the security camera to save his
right.
dog. It was
save
so
his dog.
heroic and wonderful.
Yeah. We talked a lot about that. Kevin was on the show, of course.
Trash pandas.
They are trash pandas, yes.
In July, the Chromecast was introduced by Google. Google I/O.
That was a big
deal.
thing.
Yep.
We had an entire show built around that.
I could do a whole episode on bad pronouncements. In this one from August 2013, Larry Ellison predicts dark days ahead for Apple without Steve Jobs.
Well, Larry Ellison also didn't believe in the cloud, so you know.
And was also a flat earther as well.
What?
He
No.
still is.
I was like, wow.
It was also the year that Steve Ballmer said, I'm out of here.
I know.
You got a very good interview with
I
Steve.
got the last interview with Steve Ballmer.
Wow.
And there's actually some great stories. He noticed your shoes.
Right. So the way Steve Ballmer would remember people's names was he'd look at your shoes and he'd free associate something about them with your name.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent.
That's how he remembered everybody's name.
I think
Like
that's
he'd meet
great.
people 10 years later and he'd be like, oh, hey, Joe, blah, blah, blah. Right.
That's a good salesman trick.
right.
Yeah.
Steve Ballmer was the best. I have to say, I interviewed all three Microsoft CEOs. He was my favorite.
Really?
But I was banned from talking to him for 17 years. Not that I'm mad about that. Well,
For
17 years
what? Why?
because
She didn't
every
wear
time
shoes.
every time I interviewed him, he said stuff he shouldn't have, and they're like, "You can't talk to him anymore."
Oh.
You know how to get him to say
He
that.
would tell the truth to you.
Right.
Oh.
Well, that's not your fault.
No, so that's
No.
why I got the last interview because I
didn't
sent him a
care
note and I'm
anymore.
like, "Look, you didn't talk to me for 17 years. Can we end this feud?" And he's like, "Mary Jo's getting the last interview."
That's
Oh,
awesome.
What a nice
job.
story.
I love it.
It began a long saga of Microsoft searching for the next CEO.
Oh man,
Do you remember all the
that?
candidates?
Yes. So
I was a candidate at one point.
I
Yep.
think Mikah was one of them.
Right.
Steven Sinofsky was one of them at one point.
He had left in disgrace, but there
Right.
remember Alan Mulally,
Alan
the CEO
Mulally,
of Ford?
CEO of Ford, was like a leading candidate. Julie Larson Green was a candidate.
She was in-house. She was a
But
Windows team.
Stephen Elop, who ran the Nokia
Nokia.
business after Microsoft bought them,
Well,
was a
I should mention that year
That was
also
the year that Microsoft
bought
bought
Nokia for
Nokia.
$7.2 billion.
and then a
Money's
year
going up.
later fired everybody pretty much
Yeah.
who worked at Nokia.
Yeah, that was a terrible
that was
mistake.
great.
Because
That
those
was one of
phones
the,
were so awesome.
I know, and that was one of the reasons Steve Ballmer was kind of eased out.
Really? Was that the final straw?
That was one of them. You know, he really wanted Microsoft to make its own hardware and be a phone player.
Right.
And
Which could have been a super viable strategy.
yeah, maybe. It was kind of late for them to get in the game, sadly.
It was late, and they didn't have the developer cred.
No.
Because they still weren't. They were still too enterprising.
They
Okay,
were.
keep going.
Hey, no, they weren't too enterprising. Hold on, wait.
Well, no, but at the time, the developers.
There's no such thing as too
no,
enterprising.
there isn't.
The mobile world was coming up as a consumer tech
They
predominantly.
missed
Like,
that. They really
They totally
did.
missed them-
Ballmer
that.
thought the iPhone was a joke. Remember, he laughed
He
at it. He
did.
says, so expensive,
No, he
nobody will buy that.
pretended he was going to break somebody's iPhone.
He
on
took somebody's
stage.
iPhone from the audience at one of the sales
Yeah.
meetings, put it on the stage.
That was just a thing, though, to show, like, we're going to make our own. It's going to be better. Then they had the iPhone funeral on campus. That was a dark moment also. There's a lot of dark moments.
That's both
had
a literal
the
dark
iPhone
moment.
in effigy, and they had a procession. You know, like
it's a little
it's
groupthink
dead,
and weird.
the iPhone.
Yeah. So it wasn't. 2013 was not a banner year for Microsoft. We're just going to leave it at that.
Apple hired Angela Ahrendts to run their stores in 2013.
No longer there.
No longer there, but she did a great job.
She was from Burberry, right?
Yep. She was CEO of
Did a really good
Burberry.
job.
And I think she left because I believe that they promised her at some point she would have a CEO or a CEO like a C-level role at Apple. And I think she just decided Tim's never retiring, so I'm out of here. Facebook announced Internet.org, which at the time everybody thought, oh, this is great. They're going to bring the internet
I did not think that.
to the poor
For the
third world
record,
nations. Terrible.
I recognize 0 rating as the
Immediately.
crime against net neutrality that it still is.
You are so smart. We should have had you
I
on the
fight all
shows
those
back
losing
then.
battles.
Yep. It was also the year 2013 that the first what we consider modern ransomware happened.
Wow.
It was the first ransomware that encrypted all your data and demanded for $300 in Bitcoin.
How many Bitcoins was that at the time? They must give you a translation in the story
It
or
was
a
probably
conversion.
1.5 or something like that. It wasn't, nowadays.
Now it's like, give us a quarter of a Bitcoin.
Yeah, right.
Your entire life savings.
Yeah. And of course, nobody knew what Bitcoin was. This was CryptoLocker. It was I think it's the first what we would call modern ransomware. And it began a trend that has been the bane of the 2010s. I mean, just
Municipal governments, hospitals, anyone still running, old school software.
Yeah. Bitcoin was also in the news in 2013 because the feds took down Ross Ulrich's Silk Road.
Oh, yes.
I bought a house from his father.
Right?
Really?
That was the first house Andrew and I bought in Austin was Kurt Ulrich, which was his father. And when we saw this,
Is that?
No, we realized
knew?
it was him.
Oh,
And we
wow.
were sad for him because they moved to Costa Rica and the house, you guys, was really well built. So, yeah, very confusing.
Yahoo, more Yahoo news as Marissa Meyer kind of gets in gear, hires Katie Couric, the famous News Today show host, newswoman, to run something.
Yeah, exactly.
And they also had that guy,
David
David Pogue, the
They hired
musical
David
guy.
Pogue.
to do tech stuff.
Yeah,
Right?
David was a regular on our shows at the time. Yeah. Of course, once they hired him, we never wanted to talk to him again. No. He was too busy to talk to us.
Right.
Jeff Bezos on 60 Minutes. Do you remember? I think it was Charlie Rose. And Jeff is showing him the Amazon's facility. He says, oh, and here we have our drone delivery program. And Charlie's like, oh, you can deliver by drones. And and everybody else was going, how's that going to work?
God bless the nightly news people.
Yeah, 7 years later, we're still wondering,
Yeah, how's that
gonna
gonna work?
Right.
They have actually delivered an organ via drone. So I
A
don't
human organ or a
human
pipe organ?
I thought you meant a pipe organ.
Sorry, no, sorry. I can't remember if it was a kidney or not.
No, there's good reason to deliver blood and human organs
Yes.
that way because they're
Right.
fast
Yes.
and they can get over tough terrain. We wouldn't have needed
dangerous
Balto,
situations.
the famous dog that saved the
I was not
children of
prepared
Alaska.
for Balto. Delivering vaccines to the children of Alaska.
If we'd had a drone. Actually, the DJI Phantom, the first Phantom, came out in 2013. So it really was the beginning of the
The
drone.
bane of the TS. What is it? No,
TSA,
the TSA's existence.
airports everywhere.
Yeah.
And Google bought Boston Dynamics.
Oh.
Big
Now they've
dog.
sold it since because
Yes.
they decided this is probably not a good business for us to be in. But that's the robotics
Is
company.
that when we started seeing the scary
Yeah, the
robot
scary
videos?
videos came out shortly.
That's
And
thereafter.
the
my
engineers are
nightmares
very
begin.
upset that we're so mean to their robots. I just saw a story about that. They're
Really?
like, can you please stop saying they're mean and evil? They're all sad about the fact that
Yeah,
we're
they know that when the robots take over, they're going to keep track of who
Right.
says they're mean and evil, and they don't
Right.
want to be in that group. All right, should we move to 2014? Good
What
Lord.
happened in
It's
2014?
a big year.
If this
Is
is going
this
to be
another big year?
This is another big Microsoft year.
huge year, the good news is 2015 and after are nothing.
Nothing happened then. That's over.
It's
All right.
kind of amazing what the first half of the decade was amazing.
2014 is a big year. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll go quickly. The Mac Pro, the trash can Mac ships. They still haven't shipped a
Still haven't
successor.
shipped a new one.
Microsoft finally settles on the best possible choice of all the people we mentioned, Satya Nadella,
Right.
who was the head of the Azure group
Because I turned it
Microsoft.
down. So
I know, Mikah said no.
Yeah.
Then they said, okay, Satya, he's okay.
Man, there's
really
nobody
like
doesn't think
Satya.
that was a brilliant move. And,
Yeah.
and what's happened
None
in
of
the
us
years
predicted
since,
it. None of us predicted it.
it was a surprise.
It was a total
Wait,
surprise.
no. Okay, so I will tell you.
If you're going to tell me you predicted
Okay,
it.
no. Okay, but in 2013,
is it written down
at
somewhere?
GigaOM, we were planning a conference. So there are Google Docs, although they're probably gone now because GigaOM.
she has receipts.
We were talking about doing a future CEO panel, and Satya was one of our picks for that
Really?
because he had spoken at a couple of the other
He's-
cloud
he's a
conferences,
good
and he was a
speaker.
good.
Yeah.
And we liked his vision.
Well, he's
Am
not
I
good.
going to say that I predicted him being CEO? Yes, one day.
But you know what? Okay, here was my clue, which I didn't pick up on. When I got the final Ballmer interview, they had me interview a whole bunch of his lieutenants, and my last interview was Satya. And they
You
said,
think even then they kind of thought
They
he was...
knew.
They knew.
And they said to me afterwards, "What do you think of him? Like, you know, like, do you
You're
like
the
him?"
reason he was hired.
I'm just saying the check can come to. I'll give my address
Did you,
later.
did you
Yeah.
say,
Wait,
you know,
did
2
you say you
thumbs
liked
up?
him?
I said I thought he was good.
Okay.
I had interviewed him several times at Microsoft when he had different jobs, and I'm like, you know what I love about him? He's so technical. Love it.
He's been a good
my
choice.
God.
And he's a nice guy.
And he's a
And
nice
he's
guy.
very nice. And you know what? Here's the other thing. He listens.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you ask him a question, he actually sits there and looks at you and thinks about it. He doesn't have a can.
Would you say Ballmer was a good listener?
No, but he was a great CEO for the time that he was the CEO.
He was a
I think.
salesman is what he was.
He was a
And he was a
salesman, but
very
that's when
good
they needed a
salesman. He was a
salesman, I
rah-rah
feel
guy.
Yeah.
rah-rah
BlackBerry, in 2014, BlackBerry sales in the United States went to 0%. They shortly afterwards killed their phone division. They're still around, but
They
because
make IoT security
they have
software now.
QNX. They have a very good operating system.
Don't they make like
well,
something
they were smart. They bought QNX, a real-time OS,
Yes,
which
they
is
did.
very popular in a lot of.
It used to be popular in automakers.
Yeah. Lenovo bought Motorola from Motorola Mobility from Google. Google had bought it earlier, made the Moto X, which is a wonderful phone, and then
I had that. I still loved it. You know why? Because you could like squeeze it or tap it or shake it, and the camera would come up, and it was amazing.
It was like a
it's just
bop
the
it.
camera move.
Yeah,
I would know that.
And then you would have another move for the
It's a
flashlight.
wrist move.
And
That's
I loved
still
it.
the camera move.
And V was a flashlight or
Oh,
something.
come on. That's
No, it was. But
It
here's
was
the
really
best,
handy.
Here's the best thing the Moto X did that no other device has done since then. You could change the trigger word. You could record any arbitrary trigger
that's
word.
kinda neat.
So instead of saying,
Hello,
"Hey
Moto."
Shlomo," I said, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope."
That's such a long
That
one,
is
though.
very long.
It
but okay.
never got triggered by accident except when watching Star Wars.
So every night around 10
Yeah.
Every
p.m.
night. Every night. Facebook bought Oculus. We mentioned that already. I thought this was interesting. I came across this story, and nobody mentions this now, but the NSA hacked Huawei.
Oh, you're not supposed to talk about this. That's why I haven't mentioned it. You're going to be in trouble.
Oh, I'm in deep trouble. So before
Right now, a
Huawei was
satellite is
accused
tuning
of
in on us.
hacking us, we were hacking them in 2014. It was very controversial at the time. Obama's administration decided to give up control of the DNS root zone. This was after the Snowden revelations about the NSA. The world said you shouldn't be running the internet. And a lot of people said Obama's giving away the internet. The Ruskies are going to get it. I think we can say now that the multi-government organizing body has actually done a good job, right? Except for the .org domain problem.
Yeah.
But other than that.
Moving right along.
2014 was the year of the most annoying game of all time.
Which one?
Think.
Oh, I don't think it's
Call of
annoying.
Duty?
Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird.
Wait, Flappy not
Call of
angry?
Duty.
She just doesn't like Paul Thurrott because that's
Wait, come on. I had to throw that in there. What is
Flappy Bird. You don't remember Flappy Bird?
I remember
It was
Angry
a
Birds.
bird. No. Flappy Bird was an interesting story. It was created by a Vietnamese teenager, put on the Apple Store for free. He had ads in it. It took off virally.
well, yeah.
He made a ton of money from ads, but he felt guilty. And actually, 6 months later, he pulled it. Said, I can't in good faith leave this on the store. People are losing their lives to this game.
I have no recollection
making
of this
this
at all.
Really?
Money.
Oh, man. Flappy Bird.
I'm sure Karsten probably can
It's
pull up
okay.
a-
I'm okay not
remember
knowing.
It's just the most frustrating, annoying
You basically, so you it's a map that moves along while the bird sort of stays in one place, and you have to tap to keep the bird up in the air, and so it's moving through pipes, It's a little bit of a.
I'll show
People
you.
accuse it of being kind of
I'm
a
good.
Mario
She's
ripoff.
good. It feels fine.
No, there's another gaming story we haven't talked about. I'm bringing up a gaming story.
Wow. Yeah. Let's stop and pay
There's
attention to that
Flappy
for a
Bird.
second. What's
Here's
your gaming
Flappy
story?
Microsoft bought Mojang.
Oh,
right.
Which was the creator of Minecraft.
Yeah, Minecraft.
Which was
stuff.
still a big deal.
$3 billion?
I forget
Something
how
like
much
that,
it was,
3.2.
but
That sounds
yeah.
right. Yep.
I remember everybody was like, wait, why did they just buy Mojang?
Brilliant move.
It was.
No, I'm sorry,
in
2.5.
hindsight.
2.5
In
billion.
hindsight, it was.
And Notch bought a candy house. Facebook bought WhatsApp for what turned out to be around $22 billion. Now, that's when people went, what the what?
Okay.
But that I don't know if that was a bad move. I think it was a good move. I think they've made their
I think
money
it was a
back.
terrible move because I like WhatsApp and it
Right.
frustrates me every time.
Everybody
I use
uses it. If you go outside the U.S., everybody's on WhatsApp.
Everybody's on.
it. So this is actually my PSA for WhatsApp, even though Facebook does own it. Everybody who complains about not being able to group text people on
Android devices.
on texts, period. Don't start with me,
It's
Mikah.
on Android devices. So
All right.
I can group message just fine on iMessage. Thank you. Anyway.
Group messaging
iMessage
on
came out this
WhatsApp
decade, too,
is
by the way.
amazing. Yeah, all of the fancy
Yeah.
chats. All of the fancy chats. But yeah, WhatsApp, it's the way to go. Especially when you have snobby Apple
Google bought
friends.
Nest. Google bought Nest.
3.2
got
billion.
IoT.
It was
Google-
a terrible deal for them.
You know,
Nest.
it's a funny.
No, it was great for Nest, but it was
It's a
terrible
funny
for Google.
picture to see this picture of Tony Fadell and Larry Page. And of course, Fadell eventually became very disillusioned and left.
I don't know how long that eventually was. I think it was pretty
Almost
rapid.
instantly became very disillusioned and left. But he did take $3.2 billion in cash.
And he screwed up valuations for years afterwards and made all these companies feel like they had a chance.
I don't know if people remember this. Newsweek, which was resuming its print run, had a cover story in which they say, we have found
Yes.
Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. He's been hiding in plain sight. Dorian Nakamoto. The problem was Dorian had no experience with mathematics. There was no way he was Satoshi Nakamoto. I don't think Newsweek ever retracted this
No,
story.
I don't think they did either.
That
A
was very
64-year-old Japanese man whose real name was Satoshi
Yep.
Nakamoto.
This is like if we had an AI go do a news story for us and
Yeah,
do the
pretty much.
investigation.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
this seems
But
similar.
man, it got. I'm going to mention the author, Leah McGrath Goodman. I don't know whatever happened to her, but Newsweek had long ago lost its luster, probably. But still, that didn't help. It was also the year of Heartbleed, which was probably the biggest kind of big security flaw. It turned out the NSA probably had been using it for years to spy on people. It allowed you to spy on servers because of a flaw that had been in OpenSSH for many, many, many years.
And not only that, though, I think there will be marketing classes taught on Heartbleed. And I'm not saying that as a joke. The way that the brand stuck with it so much.
It was the first exploit to have a really good name and
like a logo.
A really good logo.
Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle.
Of course, OpenSSH was quickly fixed by the OpenSSL, I should say, was quickly fixed by the open source community. The beginning of the FCC's deliberations on whether to kill net neutrality began. This is under the Obama administration. Eventually, the President Obama came out publicly saying, no, you should not kill net neutrality. Tom Wheeler, who was the chairman of the FCC at the time and a former Verizon lobbyist,
who actually was an amazing FCC commissioner,
I didn't
very
get to,
pro-consumer.
I didn't get to that part
Okay,
yet.
I was like, hold up.
Remember on what's the HBO news show?
Oh, the dingoes. You're putting the dingoes.
Yeah.
John Oliver.
John Oliver said it's like putting a dingo in charge of your baby to have Tom Wheeler running the FCC.
That's a good. That's funny.
And by the way, Tom Wheeler was a little affronted that he called him a dingo, but after many, many protests, after tens of thousands of comments, Tom Wheeler did the right thing.
Legitimate comments. I
Legit,
would like
not
to
fake
add.
comments.
Not the bot comments.
Tom Wheeler did the right thing, and net neutrality was preserved at least until the next president, when it was immediately thrown.
Well, it was preserved, then it was destroyed in a lawsuit, and then I only
that's right.
dedicated 10 years of my life to net
Because it's
neutrality.
that whole, is this section, what is it,
You're not
section
bitter.
3 of the telecommunications?
Section 2.
Title 2.
Title
versus,
2.
Yeah.
No.
Net neutrality, also the right to be forgotten in the EU.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big deal.
The Supreme Court in the EU said, yes, Google, you have to erase web page references if somebody asks you and it's a legitimate request. That's still the law of the land throughout all of the EU.
And Google still works in the EU. I would just like to point that out for everybody who's freaking out.
It was a little
Jeff
weird
Jarvis.
because Google had to create its own tribunal to judge whether it was a legitimate right, which is weird. But it was the only way that this could even work. Fortunately, most of the requests that weren't legitimate were rejected, and only ones where there really was a good case, I guess, went through. Apple bought Beats in May for $3 billion.
Remember that?
I was stunned. I thought, what the heck?
Was that a good deal for them? I mean, what?
They got a music service, remember? That's where Apple Music came from. And they got a fairly lucrative headphone business. I'm sure they've made the money back now.
I think that there's a large group of folks who it's a sort of a cultural icon, more so than it is good quality headphone. And
doesn't matter. They sell well.
That's what I mean, is that for that group of people, sort of folks younger than I am, right in that group, very much fans of the Beats, the Dre Beats headphones, and happily have those around their neck on display. So
we're going to have to do a speed round because we've just run out of, we're running out of time. Not enough ads, good news. So let me quickly wrap up 2014 and then we'll take a break. Amazon released the Fire Phone.
Oh.
Winner. No. That was their 3D phone, remember?
Yep.
And everything you did with the phone got sent back to Amazon, including all the pictures. Nest bought Dropcam shortly after buying. Google bought Nest. They bought Dropcam. That
Google
was a good
technically
move.
bought Dropcam.
Right.
Nest
Alphabet
did not want it.
Didn't buy Dropcam. Was it Google at that point still?
Oh, I don't remember.
It was still Google.
Dang it, Mikah.
Supreme Court kills Aereo. You remember Aereo? They had little dime-sized antennas in New York City, and everybody got to watch TV. The Supreme Court said no, and Aereo shortly thereafter went out of business.
Oh my God, U2 happened this year.
This was the year. Well, we'll get to Apple's event, but I do have to mention one more. You were talking about it. YouTube meme, the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Yep.
People dumping ice over their heads, then challenging other people. It spread like wildfire. I even did it.
I did one.
I think Satya did it.
Satya did one. I remember that. The Ice Bucket Challenge. It is not fun.
No, it's not.
It is not fun. And I resisted it for a long time. I was late to do it, but I finally gave in to the
If you've
cool
seen
kids.
people all over your newsfeed dumping buckets of ice water on themselves, you're not alone.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. That is quite...
You're not alone.
Quite the...
Amazon made a good purchase. For a long time, it was rumored Google was going to buy Twitch and roll it into YouTube. Amazon jumped around them and bought Twitch. That was a good move at Amazon.
Very good move.
Got them in the streaming video business. Twitch turned out to be very valuable. Samsung bought SmartThings, $200 million. Yes. That's a bargain, I would guess. And it was in September that Scarlett Johansson and other movie stars' naked pictures leaked out to the internet in something called The Fappening. It was terrible. It was bad PR for Apple. They were all stored on iCloud.
Who called it that? I never saw it called that.
That was a Reddit
I did
thing.
see it. Yeah, it was a Reddit thing. It's
of course it was a Reddit thing.
Yeah, just...
Apple announced the Apple Watch. And at that same event...
The most personal device you'll ever own.
At that same event, get ready with your finger, Bono and Tim Cook did this and pushed the U2 album, The Age of Innocence, to everybody's iPhone who didn't want it.
Awesome. You get an album and you get an album.
You and you and you.
And everyone said, how do we remove it?
I love U2, but boy, it pissed people off.
Oh man.
Well,
Apple had to create a page on how to get rid of it. Never again. Macworld magazine closed. That was PC World had closed the year before. Really, we're starting this in this decade to see all the paper magazines just go away. And remember Surface? They bought, I think, $400 million deal to get the NFL to use Surface tablets.
Yes.
They still do. That deal
Still a sore spot.
I remember
Belichick.
that.
And Belichick threw it, and in the
Look at
whole
me talking
year,
sports ball.
all of the sports announcers called them iPads.
Yes,
the whole year.
And now that says on the back, Microsoft Surface.
Surface, it's a Surface. It's a Surface.
Yeah.
And you can see the coach there with their iPad, drawing up the plays.
Apple that fall released the first of their big phones, the iPhone 6 and the 6 Plus. And remember Bendgate. It was such a big phone that if you really tried hard, you could bend it. Consumer Reports finally said, it's not more bendable than any other phone. Just stop trying to bend it, okay? This is a sad one.
Yeah.
Gamergate was big. Brianna Wu got chased from her home in 2014 because of harassment from trolls, internet trolls harassing women in gaming.
Oof.
Shameful, a shameful event. And during that time, as I'm talking about it, people still would say to me, they'd be even in the chat room, it's not about harassing people.
It's about ethics and games.
We want games to be better. That's all we're saying. No, it was about harassing people. In November, Amazon introduced something that has changed our lives. Not the Fire Phone.
So that was the first try.
The Amazon Echo.
Oh, my goodness. It's changed our lives so much that we have to not say certain words when we talk.
We can't talk about it. I can't say what it did. And I think this is the year Microsoft introduced Cortana as well.
Oh, bless that beautiful soul that is
Cortana.
Cortana.
I think I have an article from April of 2014 of somebody calling it a Siri killer.
That's like a serial killer. That's kind of funny.
It wasn't a Siri killer. That was what Microsoft was hoping.
Yeah.
That was their.
They actually had a funeral on campus for Siri.
that, yeah. Funerals are big over there.
It seems like this was more recent, but in 2014, Taylor Swift said, streaming is bad. I'm not going to put my next album on Spotify and any free streaming.
Was that also the introduction of famous people doing screenshots of the iOS Notes app on their phone to post long messages onto Twitter that wouldn't fit?
That is an interesting cultural question right there.
Because it was 140 characters still back then. Oh, was that a bad thing to do? It was also in December, the year that Spain decided that Google News was just not good for publishing.
Oh, I remember that.
And forced them out to the great detriment of Spanish newspapers. I guess they're back by now, but holy cow, that was a mess. So a big year, 2014. We'll go on to the rest of the decade, and we'll just do that really fast in just a bit. You know, this is a great year to give your friends, your family, yourself Masterclass. You know about Masterclass? I love Masterclass. I'm going to log into my Masterclass right now. Look you can learn how to dance ballet by Misty Copeland.
Excuse me?
What? David Sedaris storytelling. My friend Steve Martin does a comedy class. Bobby Brown teaches makeup. The Bobby Brown. Her name's on your compact. She teaches how to do makeup. Bob Iger teaches business strategy. Doris Kearns Goodwin, the historian, teaches U.S. presidential history.
Truly masters in their class.
How'd you like to learn music for film from Danny Elfman?
Wow.
Or creativity and leadership from the editor of Vogue, Anna Wintour. Or cooking from the legendary chef Thomas Keller. He's, by the way, not the only chef on there. If you want to learn poker, Daniel Negreanu will teach you. Neil Gaiman will teach you writing. Annie Leibovitz teach. Wouldn't you love to learn photography from Annie Leibovitz? Learn chess from world champion Garry Kasparov. It's beautifully shot. The cooking classes alone. Gordon Ramsay, filmmaking with Jodie Foster.
Folks can learn electronic music from very famous, Dead Mouse.
Isn't that amazing?
That's really cool.
He even took his hat off for it.
Wow.
There's no mouse head.
His dead mouse is not on his head.
You can actually see him.
Is that Penn and Teller?
Yeah, teaching magic.
Oh my
Hans
gosh.
Zimmer teaching film scoring. Gordon Ramsay cooking. You want to learn?
Oh my God, Chris Hadfield! I love Chris.
You want to
Hadfield.
learn how to be an astronaut?
I want to learn.
Commander Chris will
anything
teach
from
you.
Chris.
I know. Scorsese on filmmaking. I don't know how they get these people to do it, but they do, and I think it's the benefit for all of us.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Can I just tell you, his acting class is amazing. He goes through a scene from Pulp Fiction. Breaks it down, has two acting students, talks about every beat in the scene. Can you imagine learning acting from Samuel L. Jackson?
Oh my God.
These are beautifully shot. Each class is broken down into individual video lessons and downloadable materials. You can explore at your own pace. And you don't have to choose. You can get an all-access pass, charged annually, unlimited access to all the classes, all the lessons. This is the Pulp Fiction.
You're the weak, and I'm the tyranny.
What is that? What is he?
Oh, man. Don't you want to do it now?
Oh, my God.
We have a deal. Buy one annual masterclass, all-access pass for yourself. You'll get another one to give for free. You're going to make somebody really, really happy. Go to masterclass.com/twit. I've been a member for years, It's funny. I was going to give it to my son, Henry. He said, I'm already a member. He does all the cooking stuff. Masterclass.com/twit. Buy one, get one free.
Wow.
This is the perfect holiday gift. 70 instructors, every category, masterclass.
And like super well-known names.
Oh,
it's
my
ridiculous.
God. These are the people you want to learn from.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. Lisa's tapping her watch.
Yes.
By the way, it's
Her
an Apple Watch,
Watch.
which was launched in 2015. I actually was very skeptical. I thought, in fact, I think I said at the end of 2015, this is a flop. Boy, was I wrong. But I honestly think it took time, and it kind of, and it, it's only now you can actually tell time from the Apple Watch, so that's good.
Look, it was, as I mentioned, they announced it as the most personal device you'll ever own. They didn't know what it was going to be yet, and it's only been through the iterations that they've come across this idea that it's this great personal fitness and health device. And so now they're really honed in on that. You can't send someone your heartbeat anymore and do weird taps on people when you're not there in person. It's the stuff that they came out with in the beginning. They thought it was just going to be this personal device on your wrist to communicate with others.
They've thrown a lot of spaghetti against the wall, like the walkie-talkie, which seemed like a good idea, but nobody really wanted.
Right.
But I think they found one app that everybody would love.
By copying Fitbit, which already had a product in the market?
I don't know why I'm getting
By the way, they pretty
scary
much
eyes
killed,
right now.
They pretty much killed Fitbit.
That was intense.
They did kill.
You're a Fitbit lover, I can tell. Yeah, she's wearing it. do you, even though Google owns them, they bought Fitbit in 2019. We're jumping ahead a little bit. You don't have a problem with it? A lot of people turned in their Fitbits.
That's a Twig topic, and it'll take us out of here.
The Fitbit buyback program.
I'm excited about it. I think Google's going to have context based on this that is going to be interesting.
And Google's really struggled. Yeah. It was only a year later after the Apple Watch came out that Google introduced Google Wear, and it never really took off. I liked it. I tried to use it.
I think they came out with some really neat looking watches, but they were all giant.
What about the Surface Band?
Was that a thing?
That was a thing?
It wasn't a Surface Band. Microsoft banned, right?
Banned.
Oh, yeah.
It was a short-lived...
Wait, what did they ban?
When you look at it from a distance, like you're in a helicopter looking down, it looks like Apple announces something.
Microsoft comes
and then
in,
Microsoft says, "Oh yeah, we got that."
And you know what? We're going to do it better. And a year later, it's dead. Yeah.
Well, there were a ton. Jabra had their band. There was the Nike Fuel band. I mean, right?
Oh, I remember the Nike Fuel band. Yeah.
All right.
USB-C was introduced in 2015. It actually came out. That has changed the world. In a good way.
It has not changed the world as much as it needs to have.
It should.
Because micro USB is still... I'm still
see it? Yeah,
I'm still dongling like a mad woman.
You get those IoT devices, and a lot of them seem to have old...
Plus, Surface, they've been
It has
really
USB-C now, and it charges...
But, look how long that took.
But it's not Thunderbolt.
No,
and that's
it's not Thunderbolt.
Yeah, and that's the real problem with USB-C. It looks the same, but it can do a variety of things, and you're never clear.
Right. Yep.
There's supposed to be logos. Are there logos next to your USB-C connector?
I hope not.
No, that's the problem.
It's too tiny.
They're supposed to. USB Coalition says, no, you put this and it'll tell you what the functions are.
They need to dictate a font size.
Yeah, they'll also have to do that.
I bet you it doesn't have any labels on it.
I
would
not.
guess. I know the Apple's
It's too pretty to
Apple
do
won't
that.
do that.
Probably not.
Yeah, let's leave it blank.
And what else came out in 2010? I'm sorry, 2015. Let's go back to 2010.
Let's start
I
over.
feel like we missed a lot.
From the top.
What else came out in
Two big
2015?
things from Microsoft.
Windows 10.
Woohoo!
And Surface.
Surface also.
Oh my God.
Now,
I
RT had been
remember.
out, but this was the real
This was
Surface.
the real start of Surface.
I got so excited. I was like, ooh, who is this Microsoft that I had not seen in the past? This is
and to their
interesting
credit,
Microsoft.
This wasn't an iPad clone. This
No.
was a new
yeah.
form factor for a
2-in-1,
Windows PC.
right?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of excited about it till, as you all know, I tried it on my lap. It didn't really work out.
Yeah.
But this, finally, Microsoft's thing is by their third try of
Yeah,
something, they
takes
get it
a
right.
while.
Surface Laptop 30.
Except for the Microsoft Band.
They
Yeah, they
almost
didn't get it.
did a
If
Band
they would've
3,
done the
and then they
third
killed
one.
it. Yes. Yep.
Close.
So
Missed
close.
it by that
I
much.
know. Yeah, but Windows 10, they skipped 9, went to 10. And they
As
say
one
it's the
does.
last version of Windows.
We'll see.
We'll see.
It was in 2015 that Alphabet was created.
There's where Alphabet came
Sundar
along.
Pichai now runs Google. Larry Page moves upstairs to run Alphabet. and fade off slowly
So
into the sunset.
this was a 4-year transition plan
Yeah.
that involved
Probably.
creating a new company.
And this is
That
one
no
of the
one
things I
calls
think doing what
it.
we're doing today is actually a really interesting exercise, because you do have to step back a little bit to see, oh yeah, they started this in 2015 and now this is the conclusion of it. Surface started in 2015 and now we have really a very credible line of hardware from Microsoft.
Beautiful hardware.
Let's not forget, this was their first hardware was
I know.
Surface RT and then Surface. They had never done a computer.
Right.
So that was a big deal.
It was.
Tesla turned on autopilot on
Which
its
is
Model
still
S.
not in the final form.
Still a beta.
Still not autopilot, frankly.
Yeah.
It's driver assist. That's what it's been. That's what it's always been. But it was a hell of a lot of marketing. It was a good
Which has
marketing.
caused a lot of problems.
And some deaths, I think we can say.
Yeah.
People trusting autopilot to drive them have had.
Well, that's because it's called autopilot, and that's
Right.
right. If you think it's autopilot,
It ain't.
it ain't. There you go. That's the new the new PSA.
Oh, it looks like autopilot, but
It
it's
ain't.
not.
We have it. Is it this or this?
Which one?
I have it in 2016 and 2015. I think
Google.
What's the Google
I
one?
think it was probably there's a couple of cases of this where it was announced one year and
Yeah.
then it didn't actually emerge
You
until
think
the
of
year after.
HoloLens?
HoloLens was announced in 2015.
I was also very excited about that. From the get-go, I'm going, when do I get to Minecraft on my kitchen table?
Yeah, remember that? They showed
They showed
Minecraft.
that, and
it's
now-
only this year
I
they
know.
finally came out with Minecraft Earth to
Right.
kind of sort of do what
Right.
they showed.
Although Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott only use the HoloLens to balance their checkbooks.
No, you know what? So they fixed. They were going in a consumer direction with HoloLens, and then they had to self-correct.
Oh, you hate consumers.
I hate consumers, but also they're doing the right thing.
Oh.
Have you tried HoloLens too?
Yes,
Because it's amazing.
It
I
is.
like. Did you do the
So much
whole
better.
the demo where you like put the wires through
Yeah.
the? Yeah.
Yep.
They had you like build the wiring of a plane fuselage or
You can
something.
do a lot of
so
real
cool.
life things with HoloLens too.
It's very fun.
it still feels like a demo, not a
It's
product.
still futuristic.
I see. So when I tour factories, like where people are hardcore making
Some of
things-
them are wearing Google Glass.
No.
Are they?
No, they're not. They're using HoloLens. And I have actually seen these in
Yeah, in
production
real life,
environments. Yeah.
All of our editors wear Google Glass while they're working.
I will
on
never
the
wear
show.
that on the show. Never. I'll wear a
On our
HoloLens on
factory
this show
floor.
before
That'd
I
be
do
cool.
that. We so one Windows Weekly, we actually tried the HoloLens. Remember that? We were
You were in
Europe,
Holland, yeah.
And we were using it on the show and broadcasting what it looked like.
It was
Oh, that's
pretty
so
wild.
neat.
Yeah,
That
was
is
pretty
neat.
Cool. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a developer of
Airplanes,
HoloLens.
right.
Yeah, we saw the airport.
I know. That was
Schiphol
super
Airport.
cool.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
Jumping to 2016, where Tesla finally turns on the autopilot. AirPods come out. Can you believe it? They've been around for that long. 3 years.
yeah.
It was the beginning of the end of the headphone jack. Is what it was, right?
Yeah, rest in peace.
And the wireless headphone revolution, which I'm not all that crazy about, but I guess I'm kind of accepting.
Accepted it. That's how I feel about it too. Yeah.
I have not.
You're still wired in.
I have both.
There's a headphone jack on this, I think.
Yeah.
It
And I've
was
got one
also
here as well.
2016. Yeah, and did iPads finally get rid of headphone jacks? No, some of them have, but the Pros don't.
Yeah, Pros don't. Wait.
In fact, that was
Pros
the year
don't.
the
Yeah.
Pro emerged.
Oh,
as well.
the iPad Pro.
First iPad Pro, which I think was a very good
Oh my
move.
God, beautiful device.
Oh my gosh. 2016 is the year my family like got back together again through the love of Pokemon Go.
Oh,
Because I had
July.
a kid.
I will never forget July 2016, and it was all the rage, wasn't it? I mean, everywhere you'd go, there'd be strange people wandering, looking at their phones in clumps.
And cursing because it wouldn't catch
The
it.
server would keep going down in the middle of your battle. No, Lisa still plays it. Both Lisa and I are peaked level 40 because we couldn't stop playing it. Still a great game.
Gotta catch them all.
2016.
No, but the real big thing in 2016, Microsoft buys LinkedIn. $26 billion.
Isn't it interesting how the numbers have been going up
26
and up
billion,
and up
right?
and up? That's
the
a lot.
biggest acquisition in Microsoft's history.
Since they haven't bought anything bigger.
They bought. That's because they're still trying to make their money.
Yes.
They bought LinkedIn for all of the emails, didn't they? They just want to increase their.
Well,
email
remember
address
how
book.
angry Mark Benioff
Yes.
was at Salesforce
You
about
know why,
Microsoft?
right? He outbid them, and they sold to Microsoft.
So his contention was, well, Microsoft's just going to use all that data.
Right, and we're not going to get to use it. So
And they're going to lock us out. That's right. So how's that been? Have they locked him out?
No.
And
in
actually,
fact, they just had a nice little tete-a-tete recently where they were
Satya Nadella was on stage with Mark Benioff.
Okay, so
in the rarefied world of CEOs, you got to make friends.
They're all friends. Yeah, they want to all go to the
They all-
Seychelles together. And
I think
surf
all
in
what
their
they want is
submarines.
they all have they've paid for their
paid for the bridge.
They've got their own little rooms.
Yacht.
I got the
On Larry
island.
I'm trying to
Ellison's
say
yacht.
panic rooms.
Larry
they've all bought
Ellison
together.
buying the island of Lanai was on this rundown. He did do that in this decade. His own Hawaiian island. And of course, Mark Zuckerberg famously bought a big ranch on Kauai and then started to fence it off, much to the perturbance of the locals.
Hey, let's talk about exploding phones.
Oh my God!
Note 7, 2016, the Note 7. Man, that was, I thought, the end of the line for Samsung phones. I really thought that was going to be such a black mark on Samsung that they would never be able to dig out, or if they did, it would take them a while. Next year, everybody forgot.
We still make jokes. But yes.
It's like, it didn't slow down sales of the Note 9.
It was a really good phone. I know before it exploded,
didn't
people
wanna give it
loved
back.
it.
Your
Yeah,
parents
my
wouldn't give
parents,
it
they
back.
had to Verizon had to cut off their service before my parents were like, they charged it at night inside a Pyrex bowl in case it exploded.
just in case, and that would have been fine.
On the back porch.
I was like, what is happening here? And they're like, well, that's in case it explodes.
Here is a surprise. It wasn't until 2016 that Google introduced the Assistant. So Cortana's out.
It was way out
Siri was out.
That's true. Wow.
Previous decade. Shlomo, Guillermo, and Alyosha were out. Guillermo came along in 2016.
Holy moly!
And yet Bixby still in the ether.
I don't know what's going on. Cortana's really kind of faded away.
No, so
Cortana is
now.
Clippy 2.0.
No, wrong. You are wrong.
Okay, tell me.
She's being reborn as an assistant inside of your favorite apps like Outlook. So you're going to just have
I don't
it
see how that's not
appear.
Clippy
That's
2.0.
Clippy. That's exactly
I mean this in a good way because you're
You
going
mean
to
it in a
have.
good way?
It's a
Clippy?
talking Clippy.
Well,
Clippy
okay,
is never
Clippy was,
good.
No.
Clippy was bad. I understand that, but
Why?
in terms
I
of
see you're making a shopping list.
in terms
Would you
of
like a
being an
hand?
assistant that helps you be more productive, that's what Clippy was designed to do, and it just didn't do a very good job at it. And Cortana is going to actually be helpful. We talked about the email, like reading your emails, helping you move to the next one. Yeah. So when I say sometimes a 2.0 product comes out and it's worse than the 1.0, but I'm saying 2.0 as in improvements made to Clippy.
Okay, I
is-
misunderstood.
2017. I got to get one of those calendars. You know how in the old movies with
I
the
know, they all
pages are
flip
flipping
really
by.
fast.
2017, Fortnite comes out.
Oh my God!
Forget
Wow.
Pokemon Go.
Who even
Everybody's
knows about
playing
it? You got to
Fortnite.
do the. You got to. What do you
And
call it?
the
The
Nintendo
oatmeal, as you
Switch.
call it. The oatmeal dance.
The oatmeal.
Flossing.
It's flossing, but he called it the oatmeal dance.
I don't know why.
Why?
Because I think you're making oatmeal.
Okay.
Ransomware continues to roll. In fact, that's the story of the next 3 years is ransomware gets bigger and then bigger and then bigger. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world. Not anymore, though.
No.
Bill Gates has surpassed him again.
Goes back and forth.
Back and forth. After, 50 billion or so, does it really matter?
No, it doesn't matter at
I
a
think,
billion.
I think to them it might matter.
Probably,
Oh,
but to us, no.
There's
like to
a
envision
great
them
story
sending
about,
cards back and forth.
I think, was it Scott McNeely and Jim Clark, who sold Netscape for a lot of money, the first big tech IPO back in the 90s. Both have massive yachts. They all have massive yachts. But the race is to who can have the tallest yacht.
Oh, brother.
But there's a problem because if it gets too tall, it can't go under the Golden Gate Bridge. So as I remember, I think it's Jim Clark got within an inch or two of the bottom deck of the Golden Gate Bridge, and everybody's going, oh, yeah, yada. So somebody will come up with a collapsing
I
mast.
was about
or
to say
something.
a little collapse.
Yeah.
Or they'll pay to have the Golden Gate Bridge turn into one of those.
Right.
Oh, just buy the Golden Gate Bridge. Of
Yeah.
course. What am I thinking? Amazon bought Whole Foods in 2017. It's kind of hard to believe it was that long ago. It feels like that was just yesterday.
I was on vacation in Costa Rica when that deal happened.
Did you? So you didn't get a cheap Thanksgiving?
I did not.
iPhone 10 came out for Apple. Now, actually, we skipped an earlier iPhone, the iPhone 5, which was the when Touch ID came out.
Oh, that's right.
The
Yeah.
iPhone 10 introduced Face ID.
Yeah.
Big jump forward.
Lots
and that
of
was
anxiety
because
about
a couple
Face
of
ID.
years earlier, Apple bought the company PrimeSense that created the Kinect
Right.
for Microsoft. Bought them right out from under Microsoft. And a couple of years later, they've got Face ID, and Microsoft's got nothing.
There.
Defunct game
Got
platform.
nothing.
Hey, Microsoft didn't do Windows 9. iPhone didn't do Apple iPhone 9.
Correct.
And Galaxy
Nine's a
Note
bad number.
didn't
Okay.
do 8. Because 7, 8, 9.
Right.
That was Microsoft's joke.
That's right.
All right.
James Damore, the famous James Damore memo at
Okay,
Google.
we're not. No.
Oh.
Moving.
No.
That's not famous.
Well, it's famous only
Okay,
because it was the
cultural
beginning
conflict,
culturally of the kind of the difficulties, the employment difficulties Google's still undergoing.
That's true.
Twitter added doubled the character count to 280.
You know what my first tweet was when we went to 280? It was finally the time.
Thumbs
where-
up.
It was it was finally the time where I could quote Michael Scott when he's talking about how computers are trying to kill us all.
You can get the whole quote in.
And I could finally get the whole quote in. So you can go back and look at that if you want to. But
Do you remember the Juicero?
I do.
Of course.
Wait, you skipped the big story.
What was the big
Alcantara.
story?
Oh, that was the introduction
Introduction of fuzzy keyboards by Microsoft.
of the Sesame Street keyboard.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Alcantara.
The Muppet keyboard.
Is this like
If I had Elvis, I could show
luxury
you.
fabric that they started putting on keyboards, which is
I
horrible.
do remember that.
But
And
see,
oh,
Stacey's a vegetarian. She doesn't like. Well,
I
so
am
are you.
too.
She doesn't like the idea of Alcantara as being sacrificed to make keyboards.
No, you don't want to kill all the Alcantaras.
I don't blame her.
I'm not a vegetarian. What's an Alcantara? what is happening here?
That whole sentence was specious. The entire sentence. Every fact in that sentence.
Those live Alcantaras
sounded good
in the jungle.
but actually had nothing to do with anything.
No.
Stacey likes steak. Alcantara's made out of plastic, and it on and
I
on.
am
and
a
on.
vegetarian. Well, pescatarian.
Pescatarian. AlphaGo beats Lee Sedol, the Go master.
Who just retired.
Just retired because he says there's no point in playing anymore.
I'm taking my board and
don't
going
wanna
home.
play.
Exactly.
Going home. I
The
get it.
Equifax breach was in
Oh, my
2017. I
God.
don't think really there's been any punishment even today. For
Wait,
that.
for us.
didn't we all sign something recently this year? And then they were like, nope, just
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
actually-
kidding. You don't get anything.
Yeah. We were supposed to all get
Oh, yeah.
some money, but
Did you
everybody
fill
signed
out
up
the
for
form
it.
trying to
I
get your
filled out the
250
form.
I did
bucks?
too.
I knew
yeah.
they weren't going to give us anything.
Yeah, they said,
Well,
well,
it
if
was like-
everybody does it, then you're only going to get like 5 cents.
You know those guys.
I do.
Model 3 came out in 2017. I still have my reservation. I could get $1,000 back anytime I want.
I still have my reservation. Yeah. Okay.
Microsoft, now to 2018, Microsoft buys GitHub, a mere $7.5 billion.
Oh,
but
child's play.
remember how upset the open source community was. A lot of people said, I'm
They're
leaving.
They're still upset.
Are they?
A lot of people
I think
are
they've gotten
still.
over it.
They've gotten a lot of people past this, that Microsoft's still the company that called Linux cancer, but some people
Right.
still hold on to that.
Elon Musk smokes a joint on Joe Rogan.
Wait, hold on. When you say on Joe Rogan,
Well, he wasn't on Joe Rogan. He was on Joe Rogan's show.
gotcha.
Okay.
Needed that
On
clarification.
the
there.
Joe Rogan podcast,
Comma.
Elon takes a puff, which endangers his Department of Defense contract, but after due consideration, the DOD says,
Was this before or
Whatever,
after the
man.
SEC investigated him? Are we
Right.
there yet?
this was after that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was after his pedo tweet, which he now says the trial's ongoing.
It's right now. Yeah. It's
And,
a common insult when he was a kid.
Yeah, everybody
in South
called
Africa.
everybody a pedo. Don't you? I called you a pedo.
Call
like-
Trevor Noah and see
Joe
if that's
pedo.
true.
It's not true. Nobody. He's saying South because he was South African. That was okay.
Well, yeah, that's.
Apple hits $1 trillion, becomes the most valuable company of all time ever. But Larry Ellison still says you shouldn't buy any Apple stock, and I can't even say it seriously. Google removes "Do not be evil" from its code.
And this is when it sold the Boston Dynamics, the crazy robots, isn't it?
It got rid of the robot because they said there's still some defense contracts, and really it's a bad look for. If we're going to do Skynet, we probably shouldn't do that and have.
Oh, no, they
killer
sold it in
robots.
2017. My
Yeah.
bad.
All right. Apple and Samsung bury the hatchet. By the way,
That took a long time.
in 2010, and I didn't mention it, Google and Oracle began. It is now going back to the Supreme
Java
Court.
fight?
The
Oh,
Java
man.
fight one last time. That is
Yeah.
an ongoing thing. The Samsung thing went through most of the decade.
Yep.
These court things are just a bad idea. Bad idea. Microsoft also hits the, what is that? How many billions is that? I can't read all those zeros.
$1 trillion?
100 billion annual revenue for the first time.
Oh.
That's a lot. They also became briefly, like for 5 seconds, $1 trillion.
Yeah,
company.
$1 trillion company.
Yeah. Elon sold the flamethrower.
I remember that.
Which is really
the Boring Company.
Yeah, the Boring Company. And Meltdown and Spectre, which still plague Intel. The bugs in their speculative execution pipeline were discovered in 2018. And we heard a story in 2018 that a Chinese physician had used CRISPR to edit the genes of 2 or 3 or more babies. The babies were later born. That was never really proven true or untrue. We just
He is still missing, though.
He disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, probably what happens if you do that. The Chinese really, there's an international agreement not to do that. And even though the Chinese aren't signatories to it, they didn't want the embarrassment.
Scrutiny.
The scrutiny.
There you go.
By the way, it was in 2018 that Mark Zuckerberg said, "I'm going to fix Facebook." How's that going, Mark?
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll fix it.
How's that going?
This was after the Mark Zuckerberg national tour.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
2017, he said, "I'm going to go to every state in the union." In 2018, he said, "I'm going to fix Facebook." I don't know what he did this year. Let's take a break. We'll wrap this up. But first, I got to talk about my underwear. Oh, I love Mack Weldon. You wear Mack Weldon.
I do wear Mack Weldon.
We love
socks
these.
and underwear.
So
All
Mack
great.
Weldon is a premium men's essentials brand that uses premium fabrics and smart design to give you the ultimate comfort in underwear and socks and shirts, in undershirts and hoodies and sweatpants. This is, I know this is kind of weird for me to rub this underwear on my face, but no one's ever worn it. It's so soft.
Yes.
It's so soft. It's so comfortable. It's so stretchy. And it's antimicrobial, which I really like.
Woven with silver thread, right?
So they have a silver line of underwear and shirts. There's very fine silver thread. It's antimicrobial, so it keeps the odor at bay, and you'll feel cool and fresh all day. Innovative fabrics, great design. Whether you're working out, you're going to work, going out on a date, it is awesome. Wearing them in everyday life. Mack Weldon fits good, feels good, works good. And by the way, if you don't like your first pair of underwear, keep it, and they'll still give you.
They don't want them back.
So 20% off your first order today. Go to MackWeldon.com. Look at this. Oh, wait a minute. I just opened this up. I'm going to keep this. I love Mack Weldon stuff. I really do. I want you to go to MackWeldon.com. When you use a promo code TWiT, 20% off. This is the time to do your shopping, your holiday shopping. Stock up on Mack Weldon. I'm telling you,
Their socks are fantastic as well.
Oh, man. You know what? They have such great stuff. Mack Weldon, MackWeldon.com. Promo code TWiT for 20% off your first order. You will say, 2019, that was the year I discovered Mack Weldon, and I never looked back. Air knit. That's what this is.
Oh, those are very breathable ones.
Yeah.
Lightweight, breathable. Yes, you're breathing. Yeah, look at you go.
If you're going to wear underwear, this is the underwear to wear because you can breathe like that.
Yeah.
This is not the ostrich pillow.
It looks like
not
that.
quite.
I don't know that ostrich pillow look. MackWeldon.com, offer code TWiT. The last year of the decade. We don't have to go through it, but ransomware again, worse and worse and worse. Apple really kind of changed its tune and starts to become a service company and is doing well by it. I think we'll look back and say it was the year of the streaming with Apple TV Plus coming out, Disney
the year of the
Plus,
subscription service, frankly.
Peacock's coming out next year. That's
xCloud,
NBC's.
game streaming.
Yes.
xCloud, Stadia. It's all about streaming. Samsung Galaxy Fold came out.
Oh, I remember
Went
that.
back. Came out again.
Some fold phones,
kind of like
yeah.
the groundhog. It saw its shadow.
It saw its shadow.
They fixed it apparently, although I wouldn't spend $2,000 on it.
No.
But anyway, I guess we could say 2019 was the year of the folding phone.
The year of the
Surface
folding
Neo
flop.
Duo.
And
my
Microsoft
God.
announced for next year these, I think, very interesting.
Holiday 2020.
Not a folding phone, more like a book with a hinge and 2 screens, but I think a really
Dual
interesting.
screen. Yeah.
It was also the year and let's not forget this, when Reddit took over Area 51.
Oh my gosh.
And discovered that there are no aliens.
Unfortunately.
This is something my 13-year-old daughter cared a lot about.
She was watching this?
She was very up on this news. This was very important to her.
Really?
How interesting. Was she like begging you to go?
No, but she was.
She thought we would find out the truth. The truth
She
is
felt
out there.
like it might be real.
The truth is out there.
So, yeah, I did feel like I should show her the X-Files.
Yeah, she might be ready. It's time.
It's that time.
Yeah. I think the guy who created it said it was just a joke.
Yeah.
But a lot of people took it seriously until the Air Force, which owns the base there, said, we have automatic weapons.
Yeah, and
Please
people
don't
in
come.
the area, too, were like, we have Stound Your Grand. That's
Stand
cool what
your
I just said.
ground.
Thank you.
We have Stand Your Grand.
Too much Patch Tuesday.
Yeah.
And with a little enough Stand Your Grand, you will never get there. I love going through the years with you guys, and I think it's really, I think you learn something from looking at it through the opposite end of the telescope a little bit, right?
Yeah.
We're every day covering this stuff. We're in the forest. The trees are right up against us. If you stand back a little bit, you see some trends. And any trends that leap to mind from the last 10 years?
Privacy.
Yes, this really.
Cybersecurity, people cared. We didn't mention it, but GDPR went into effect in 2018.
So
But-
privacy, but also I think this was the year big tech kind of lost a little bit of its luster.
Yeah. The public wasn't as enamored by the things that big tech was doing and are starting to pay closer attention to those things. Oh, should I say allow?
It was also the end of physical media. We began the decade with CDs and newspapers and magazines and books and we ended it with nothing but bits. It's just
cloud.
It's just bits.
The cloud.
Actually, really, writ large,
The cloud
all of
on
this
edge.
is cloud storage, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
But that was a 2006 thing, so we can't talk about it this time.
Well, the funny thing is, for years, people said, well, we don't want the cloud. We don't want to go back to the cloud. This is what we got away from with personal computers. We got our own computer. I don't have to do time sharing. I don't want a dumb terminal on my desk.
So next year, we're going to start seeing it go back to the edge.
Are we?
That's the
That's the
pendulum
Stacey on
swing.
IoT side of this.
This is not me just marketing. It's
computing at the edge.
Yeah.
I think this is the beginning of the computing at the edge.
Local is cool again.
So little processors all over your house, each of them spying on you simultaneously.
You love to hear it. And it loves to hear you.
It was certainly a good year for television. It's so funny because at least half of the time in this decade, people were saying Apple TV, Apple TV. There was one year at CES, I can't remember what it was, 2012, where the year after Steve died, nobody at CES was talking about anything but the Apple television set. It was like, it's imminent. It's going to be here any day now.
Gene, what's his name? Gene
Munster.
Munster, thank you.
And it was because in that Steve Jobs biography by Walter Isaacson, he says in his last days, Steve said, television, I've licked it. And we figured it out, and people were sure that by 2012 Apple would have a television. To this day, they still and probably never will have an Apple television.
No,
so that
you don't need to. It's just a dumb screen.
Now you don't need it. It's just bits. We got
whatever
screens
screen you
everywhere.
want. Yeah,
screens all over the place.
and I think the last thing I would say is a real focus on on wearables, on whatever that means. These sort of smaller satellite devices.
Ubiquitous computing.
Yeah,
computing
there you go.
goes everywhere.
Beautiful.
Ambient.
You know, if I were to
ubiquitous
coin a term,
computing.
I'd say computing at the edge, something like that.
Okay.
I think ambient's better, but yes.
Okay.
Or the Internet of Things.
The
Should we call it that?
IoT. This was also, one can't ignore it, the year of money. I mean, the decade of money. You saw the valuations. This was the decade of the unicorn, right?
Yep.
Uber. I mean, all the big unicorns came out this year. A lot of money changed hands. Microsoft spent tens of billions of dollars on a variety of products. Apple, too. Yep. This was definitely a decade where people got very wealthy. Even on things like Bitcoin. There were many Bitcoin millionaires.
Yeah. Yeah, not me.
But, of course, the thing I think we'll always remember from 2019, I want to, forgive me if I get a little serious here, is Mikah Sargent and the twerking bear. To me,
Oh, God. Someone's going to pull up the very slow-mo footage, aren't they?
to me, that's what this decade says.
You know, I will never be able to be a public official at this point.
Yeah,
but
that's
it was
it.
all worth it.
Yeah, that's it. Mikah Sargent is a host of Smart Tech Today, Tech News Weekly, iOS Today, and we love you. Thank you for joining our panel at the last minute. Lori, I hope you feel better. She was a little under the weather, couldn't make it down from Sacramento, which is too bad because this would have been great with her. But you did a good job representing the millennials.
Thank you. Thank you. I did my best.
And, of course, Stacey Higginbotham, practically a millennial. Stacey on IoT.com, the IoT podcast with Kevin Toffel, and every Wednesday with This Week in Google. Thank you. I know it's a big deal to get in a plane. You got kids and family and come down here. I really appreciate your being here for this.
I think it was a bigger deal to spend this much time sitting in a chair. This is the longest I've sat still.
The good news is the TWiT Christmas party begins in 21 minutes.
Really?
And you can dance your little tookus off. And Mary Jo Foley, thank you so much. Also,
Not a millennial, but
you came a long way, all the way
You
from New York
did.
City.
You did.
And you know, it's funny. I was looking back.
almost.
I have Patrick prepared for me a little card, which is fallen on the floor, but Mike will get it. Your first appearance, I didn't realize this, on Windows Weekly, not the upside down one, because we weren't even doing video at the time.
Oh, really?
Was in May 2008, Windows Weekly 57.
Wow.
So you've been this has been the decade of Mary Jo Foley on Windows Weekly, so I really
Awesome.
thank you for that. Stacey actually was on Twig. This can't be right. In August 2010.
Oh, yeah. Was it net neutrality was I talking about?
Wow.
Perhaps.
I didn't even realize this. Mikah wasn't even born till 2016.
Correct.
So.
The year I was born, I was on...
No, you were on TNSS.
What is that?
The new
Oh, the new-
screensavers. What is that?
That's called Attack of the Show, I
It
thought.
felt like an Enterprise, like Starship
Yeah,
Enterprise thing.
Yeah.
He was on the
October
TNSS.
15th, 2016, TNSS 75. So, boy, you know, I am so privileged to be working with such a great team. And, of course, Ant Pruitt has also joined the team. He's sitting there taking pictures, wearing his Clemson orange. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Thank you for letting us spend this 3.5 hours with you as you prepare your feast for Christmas Eve, and you wrap the presents and you do all those things, whatever it is one does this time of year. I just crawl into a corner and sob quietly to myself.
I sob loudly to myself.
It's been that kind of year.
Yeah.
No, in all sincerity, we really appreciate your listening to the show all these years. And you know, it's fun. I had a good time. And you might want to try it too. Go back and look at some of these older episodes. The first time Mary Jo was on, and first time Stacey and Mikah were on. There's some really fun stuff in the archives. All of our shows, including this one, available at twit.tv. And if you subscribe, you'll get the shows, and you can begin your collection. Just go to your favorite podcast application and subscribe. This Week in Tech will be back next week with a best of. So we didn't really need to spend much time in 2019 because that's what we'll be covering next week. All of the highlights from our shows in 2019. And then back on the air with live shows. January, what is that? What is our first episode, Karsten? January 3rd, something like that?
Don't make me think about 2020.
Well, and then Ant and I hit the road because it's Ant and Leo's excellent CES adventure. And that starts actually January 3rd, right after TWiT that day. You and I are getting in an airplane. We're flying to Vegas for all nonstop CES coverage all week long. That's going to be
2 pairs and your Epsom salts. Yeah.
You know, it's like having a baby. It's been a long time since I've done
Tell me
CES.
more about this.
As a guy, I understand. I've heard
Oh,
that
it's
if you didn't,
time.
Yeah, there's the punch.
I wanted to give you a chance to
it
punch
again.
me. If you didn't,
Do one for me.
If you don't,
Did you not catch that?
hit me again hard.
I'm gonna hit you hard.
She's not going to do it. You could do it, Micah.
I'm not
No,
gonna
but
hit
I'm
her.
just saying, people wouldn't have children if they remembered how painful it was. People wouldn't go to CES if they remembered how painful it was. It's been a few years now. I've forgotten. Don't remind me. But we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. We're going to have Sam Abel. Salmon will be with us. Dick D. Bartolo, Scott Wilkinson, somebody named Stacey
You
Higginbotham.
may run into me or Kevin and I.
Yeah, we want to get the IoT perspective. It's going to be, in fact, Ant, don't let her leave without booking her for a few segments on our IoT.
Don't make me look at my CES calendar.
I bet yours is booked up solid, isn't it?
No, because I ignore all of those until after.
So Aunt, I'm telling Aunt, where are the press releases? Have we been getting them? And no, it's been quiet. I think this year's been very quiet.
Okay.
You send us yours. We'll take them.
I'm like, all right, I've got the whole bathroom suite covered.
Yeah. It's wallpaper. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Another TWiT is in the can. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Press the button on your hat.
Happy holidays.
Copyright Real Lives 1977. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.